Chapter 948. He also want to take a bath. In her mind, she suddenly recalled what Old Man Song said. A man, in the naked embrace of the woman he loved, took the initiative to kiss him. He couldn't bear to hurt her, so he hurriedly left to do something. Indeed, what Old Man Song said was right. He didn't want to hurt her. Yi-Ching Luo instantly felt a feeling of being cherished. Her eyes were filled with smiles as she stretched out her hand and hugged DMO Xian's sturdy waist. Ah, Xian, we are preparing for the meeting. DMO Xian squinted his eyes as he held her hand and sized her up carefully. After confirming that her wounds had been smeared with medicine, he put down her hand and hugged her waist tightly as he walked directly into the meeting hall. Didn't you just leave the meeting hall? And his actions were so hurried. Otherwise, he wouldn't have coincidentally bumped into her earlier. To pick you up. A simple and crude reply made Yi-Ching Luo's cheeks burn slightly. Seeing those brothers in the meeting hall looking at her with ridicule, Yi-Ching Luo's cheeks were boiling hot as she complained to DMO Xian, "My prestige as vice group leader has been swept away by you." Cough, cough. Tong Ziqing choked on her saliva when she heard that. "Ching Luo, don't say it as if you have prestige." And Ruo Pan nodded in agreement. "Madam Ching Luo, I've never felt that you have prestige." This group of little fellows who were tearing me down, could they still play happily? The atmosphere in the meeting hall gradually relaxed. After a while, all the mercenaries who were still able to stand up had gathered in the meeting hall. Yi-Ching Luo took a look. There were about 5 mercenaries who were bedridden due to their heavy injuries and had not come over. She heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, all her brothers had survived this battle. Her gaze swept past those brothers who were standing upright, as her gaze fixed on Baiming Lian Cheng. "Did you bring the Corpse King back?" Baiming Lian Cheng nodded respectfully. "I brought my brothers and found the Corpse King in the ruins of the tomb." Losing the tomb's Inchi nourishment, the Corpse King no longer has any battle power. I have already handed the Corpse King and its coffin over to the Mercenary Association, receiving 600 mercenary group credit points and a sword manual. 600 points? As expected of the random mission of the random missions. As expected of a complicated training mission. The rewards were so generous that it was equivalent to what all of them would get if they took on and completed quests for an entire month. Random quests doubled the honor points. In other words, 300 points had turned into 600 points. Currently, the World Mercenary Group's honor points was 191 points. After deducting the 100 honor points for giving up on the first low-level training mission. In addition to these 600 points, he would have 691 honor points. Promotion to a Silver Mercenary Group required 5,000 honor points. It seemed like there was still a long way to go. What's that sword manual? Yi-Ching Luo didn't take a good look at the mission's reward at that time. A complex experience mission. Only honor points and a sword manual? When Baiming Liansheng took out that sword manual, Yi-Ching Luo instantly understood. If this sword manual was leaked out, it would definitely cause countless swordsmen in the Nirvana realm to fight over it. This was the pinnacle of swordsmanship, the 15 styles of flowing clouds and gales. Yi-Ching Luo had also heard of this swordplay. It was rumored that the execution of this sword technique was as smooth as flowing water like a gale. Chapter 949. Take a look at this sword manual. Which brother in the mercenary group is a swordsman? Take it to practice. Yi-Ching Luo placed the sword manual back into Baiming Liansheng's hands and immediately coughed lightly. Back to the main topic. She clapped her hands, indicating for everyone to shift their gazes from the sword manual to her. Ziqing, did those people from the dark forces who were locked up in the underground room say anything? The minute they returned to the old residence, Yi-Ching Luo got someone to lock up the 4 people from the dark forces who were still alive in the underground room. This underground room was dug out by God Thief in this 1 month's time. His original intention was to hide the things that he had stolen in the underground room. But now it had become the underground room to lock up the dark forces. Tong Ziqing shook her head. Their mouths are sealed tight, and they've already been tortured, but they refuse to say a single word. No matter, we still have a lot of time. Yi-Ching Luo didn't expect Leopard Saint Fa to obediently spill out everything about the dark forces. Smart people understood. This was their only bargaining chip to survive. They who were crippled couldn't escape, even if they wanted to. They could only try their best to survive and wait for the Lord to save them. Yiqing Luo had long seen through Leopard Saint Fa and the others' thoughts. Save? The dark forces were all selfish people. Rather than saving, it was more practical to silence them, although they were going to report to the academy tomorrow. But with God Thief watching over the underground room, Yiqing Luo wasn't afraid that Leopard Saint Fa and the others would escape. If that Lord really came, they would be able to catch a turtle in a jar. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as she said calmly, "When I was retrieving the god relic in King Ling's tomb, I met 3 people from the dark forces. They should be considered as people with some status in the dark forces." From that guardian snake's mouth, "The current thing we know is that the dark forces are preparing to invade Nirvana Realm. Currently 1/3 of the dark forces are hiding in the dark corners of Nirvana Realm, preparing to take in even more cultivators to be used by the dark forces." The minute she said that, the meeting hall fell into a dead silence. 1/3 of the dark forces were already in Nirvana Realm. However, in the entire Nirvana Realm, other than them, no one else had noticed this. In other words, even if they had noticed it, they had made deals with the dark forces and concealed their existence. So, the reason why the profound practitioners from those powers were released from the Ling King's tomb, other than allowing them to help the Under Heaven mercenary group build momentum, the most important reason was to allow them to spread the news of the dark forces in the Nirvana Realm. I'm sure that it won't be long before the profound practitioners of the various forces will be wary of the existence of the dark forces. The dark forces' plans will definitely be disrupted. The mercenaries looked solemn. The news of the dark organization spread out. This time, the Tomb King's Tomb mission was no longer just a simple mission. From the start of this mission, the World Mercenary Group was destined to become the focus of attention. The dark forces would definitely treat the World Mercenary Group as their first target. "You all have to be careful in the academy." Yiqing Luo thought of Heavenly Academy's director, and her eyes sunk. "Try to avoid letting other students see your faces in the academy. They have their own forces." Speaking of the academy, Xiao Jin immediately nodded. "Yes, there are dark forces in the academy as well. When you went to the academy, what did you see?" Yiqing Luo asked. Chapter 950. According to the Academy's rules, no one is allowed to approach the Academy during the holidays. Xiao Jin frowned, his expression solemn as he said, "After I snuck into the Academy, there were people in the Academy." Everyone's expressions didn't change. They could roughly guess who those people were. "That's right. It's the people from the dark forces." Xiao Jin solemnly nodded his head. In a concise and comprehensive manner, he talked about what happened after he snuck into the academy. Whenever the academy was on holiday, the headmaster would chase all the guards out of the academy and have them stand guard outside the academy, not even letting a fly escape. Xiao Jin expended a great deal of effort before sneaking into the academy. The academy was silent, like a black curtain that shrouded every corner of the academy. The familiar place was now filled with a strange and cold feeling. Although Xiao Jin felt that it was strange, he was concerned about the poison in Yin Xiaoyi's body, so he directly snuck into the library. The second floor of the library could only be opened by the librarian. Just as Xiao Jin was thinking of a way to open the door to the second floor, he suddenly heard some movement coming from the library. It seemed like someone was talking and walking over. He could vaguely tell that it was the principal's voice. Xiao Jin was anxious. If the principal were to find out that a student had entered the academy during the holidays, it would be a violation of the academy's rules, and the student would be forcibly expelled from the academy. Who knows, the dean might even discover the secret of the devil class. Just at this moment, the brocade pouch that Yiqing Luo handed to him fell out. The door to the second floor of the library opened. He fell into the second floor of the library, and the door quietly closed. At the same time, it also blocked the sound coming from the first floor of the library. Xiao Jin stood up fearfully and quickly ran in the direction of the medicine refining room. However, there was not a single soul in the medicine refining room. The entire pill refinery was in a mess. It did not look like a place where people lived at all. On the wooden table filled with medicinal herbs, there was also a half-eaten meal. Xiao Jin picked up the food and sniffed it. It was already rancid. It had been here for at least 2 days. In other words, the ghost doctor would no longer be in the medicine refining room since the Academy's holidays began. If they couldn't find the ghost doctor, what should they do with the poison in Xiao Yi's body? Xiao Jin was burning with anxiety. He put down the spoiled food and was just about to open the door of the refining room to leave. However, he heard the terrified screams of a young boy coming from outside. You lied to me," the youth roared. Faintly, a low sneer could be heard. That youth seemed to want to escape. His hurried footsteps rang out as he ran in the direction of the refining room. Xiao Jin's heart tightened as he scanned the surroundings, wanting to see where he could hide. The young man suddenly staggered and fell to the ground. The young man shouted in fear, "Dean, please let me go. My mother is still waiting for me at home. I don't want to enter the class of gods anymore. Please let me go home." Xiao Jin's body suddenly stiffened. Dean? Class of gods? This young lad was a student of the Heavenly Academy? What had the dean done to the Academy's students? Just as he was thinking about it, he heard the youth let out a blood-curdling scream, and then there was no more sound. That student was dead? Xiao Jin felt a chill run down his spine. The dean killed a student of the Academy? What was going on? Without waiting for Xiao Jin to digest this news, he heard the dean's voice again. "Lord Protector, the soul of this mystic, profound 8th grade student has been extracted." After a moment of silence, Xiao Jin did not hear the voice of that so-called Lord Protector. The dean's obviously flattering voice rang out again. "Lord Protector, please rest assured. This time, I have prepared the souls of 4 students for the Lord." The souls of 4 students. Chapter 951. Her thoughts returned back to the meeting hall. Xiao Jin looked at Yiqing Luo with a grave expression. Director's action is simply too strange. Moreover, from the meaning of his words, it's not the first time Director had done this. Mystic profound 8th grade students. In the Heavenly Academy, this was considered to be above average. At least high profound class students. Director was actually willing to do it. And the other 4 students, who were they? When Yiqing Luo heard that, her slender brows creased slightly. Director is indeed doing some kind of deal with the dark forces. More accurately, Director seems to be fawning on the Lord of the Dark Forces. The last time at the Library Pavilion's 2nd story, she had already sensed Director's ambition. Dark forces, which means to say those student souls are wanted by the dark forces. Xiao Jin asked anxiously. Although their devil class was isolated from the world and had never interacted with other students. But after all, they were in the same academy and had stayed together for several years. If they really saw these innocent student souls being taken away, they wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. They would still feel that it was too cruel. Dark forces kept on searching for cultivators, using profound enrich to sign the soul contract with them. So they need the cultivator's soul. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised about the student souls being taken away. From a moment she found out about the soul contract, Yiqing Luo already had a guess. The Lord of the Dark Forces should need the cultivator's soul to achieve a certain goal, which was what Director and Guardian Eagle mentioned earlier. The Lord's big plan. Furthermore, the key point of that big plan should be related to her. Otherwise, the Dark Forces wouldn't keep sending people with profound enrich to her side. The Dark Forces' target, other than her profound jade heart, was also her body. So, the Dark Forces placed their target on Heavenly Academy? Not only Xiao Jin was infuriated, the other brothers couldn't conceal the anger on their faces. Director actually made a deal with the Dark Forces and even sent his own students to the Dark Forces. They had painstakingly tried to enter Heavenly Academy and persisted just for this cruel and cold director? No wonder these students with poor aptitudes were all allocated to devil class, and no one bothered about them. It was because the director totally didn't fancy them, because their souls were unable to be offered to the Dark Forces Lord. I heard other students mention it when I was in the female dormitory. Every holiday in the academy, a few talented students would mysteriously disappear. I think their souls have been extracted and offered to the Dark Forces. Yiqing Luo recalled the female student conversation the last time she was in the dormitory. He mentioned the disappearance of Su Rong from the High Profound class. He also mentioned that in the past few years, there would be students going missing during holidays. It would appear that this matter was not a rumor, but a fact. The meeting hall fell into silence once again. The mercenaries looked at each other, unable to understand the dean's actions. He had offered his student to the Dark Forces. Just how thick-skinned was he to be able to act as though nothing had happened and listen to the students calling him principal? Soul! Suddenly, the man who had been hugging Yiqing Luo's slender waist muttered softly. That wet black hair scattered onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo looked up. "Ah Xian, have you thought of something?" There were many things that these youths who had never been involved in the world might not understand. Chapter 952. I need a profound practitioner's soul. Dmo Xian rested his chin on his hand as he lazily leaned back on the soft chair. I have heard of the legend of needing a cultivator's soul. Everyone immediately congealed their senses and looked curiously at Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian deliberately whetted his appetite. Only when everyone's curiosity was piqued did he slowly say, I heard that there's a forbidden art that can remove all seals in the world by using the souls of 9,999 young profound practitioners. Seal? Yiqing Luo frowned. Could it be that the people from the Dark Forces were constantly searching for the souls of profound practitioners in order to undo the seal? Also, Dmo Xian suddenly paused and curled up a lock of hair on Yiqing Luo's shoulder as his voice gradually deepened. I've heard from the Imperial Palace that there was a great war 1,000 years ago. The Emperor of the Gods from the Upper Realm expelled the Dark Forces from the Nirvana Realm and sealed the King of Darkness in the darkness forever. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly stiffened. She stared into Dmo Xian's eyes and asked in a daze, King of Darkness, is the Lord of the Dark Forces? Dmo Xian raised his brows and nodded slightly. If I didn't guess wrongly, this so-called Lord should be the King of Darkness. If the leader of the Dark Forces was the King of Darkness, he connected it to the Great War 1,000 years ago. That would explain everything. 9,999 profound practitioner souls, all for the sake of unsealing the King of Darkness. 1,000 years ago, only the divine emperors of the Upper Realm could expel them. It could be seen how powerful the Dark Forces were. We absolutely cannot let the King of Darkness seal be lifted. Yiqing Luo's brows were tightly knitted together. If the King of Darkness seal was removed, the Dark Forces would once again wreak havoc in the Nirvana world. The people from the Upper Realm could come down to the ordinary world to save them once. But that didn't mean he could save them a second time or a third time. Then, what should we do? The mercenaries looked at each other, not confident in themselves. After fighting with the people from the Dark Forces in the tomb of the Ling King, they could deeply feel the gap between them and the people from the Dark Forces. If not for Chi-Chi and the Blue Dragon's appearance, he was afraid that they would not be able to stand here alive. Stopping the King of Darkness from breaking the seal was easier said than done. The first step we need to take is to eliminate the King of Darkness and gather new profound practitioner souls. He had no idea how long the Dean had been working with the people from the Dark Forces. There was no way of knowing how many souls had gathered. Duju. It was easier said than done. The Academy was the Dean's power. But they were students of the Devil class and were unable to get close to the other students to investigate the situation. Furthermore, the World Mercenary Group's reputation had already spread far and wide. If they were recognized in the Academy, they would definitely be killed. The secret of the Devil class would also be exposed. Yiqing Luo muttered to herself for a moment and said calmly, get a copy of the background information of all the students in Heavenly Academy from Tao Zi and send it to me. Her gaze landed on Xiao Jin. Just as he was about to open his mouth and hand over the mission to him, Suddenly, he thought of something and closed his eyes. I'll go by myself later. Between Xiao Jin and Peach, it would be best to have as little contact as possible. Right now, the poison in Xiao Yi's body could not be controlled. Xiao Jin was a little confused, but he did not stupidly ask why. Chapter 953. The headquarters of the Dark Forces were not in the Nirvana realm. Protector Snake did not know where it was. This was because every time they came to the Nirvana realm from the headquarters or returned from the Nirvana realm, they would be transported back and forth through the Forbidden Blood summoning. The Dark Forces were also very large, with a total of more than 30,000 people. Moreover, every one of them had a high profound rank, and they were all good at using forbidden techniques. The Dark Forces were also divided into different levels according to their abilities. Those with decent aptitude could join the Darkness Hall and become protectors or elders. Protectors were people who specialized in cultivating Xian Qi and raising their Xian grades. In modern terms, they were similar to warriors. The elders, on the other hand, specialized in all kinds of forbidden techniques. Similar to mages, they could both attack and support. Every protector and elder was named after an animal. For example, Guardian Ing, Elder Xiong, and Guardian Snake. Moreover, there was no limit to the number of Guardian Elders. As long as one's ability reached the required level and passed the test of the Darkness Hall, they would be able to obtain the Dark Hall's Guardian Elder Medal. Wearing this emblem, in the Dark Forces, they would be loved and supported by ordinary people who couldn't pass the test of the Dark Hall. Above the Guardian Party and the Elder Party, below the Lord, which was also below the King of Darkness, they were the strongest group of 4 chosen from the Law Protector Party. They were collectively known as the 4 Great Saint Techniques. The 4 strongest members of the Elders Association were collectively known as the 4 Great Saintesses. Seeing that everyone had more or less understood, Yiqing Luo asked everyone to have a good rest as they had to return to the academy tomorrow. Not only the directors matter, but also the bet which Yiqing Luo and Shangguan Liuli had set. For Yiqing Luo's sake, the brothers must recuperate well and train hard, striving to get first place in the interclass competition. Zhao Bo and the others couldn't interfere in the affairs of the academy, so they found an excuse to leave with their brothers. And Mohan Shang seemed to have thought of something as he called out to Zhao Bo. When you and Lian Shang went to the Mercenary Association, did the Blood Fiend Mercenary Group and Invincible Mercenary Group return? Zhao Bo stopped in his tracks, shook his head, and immediately told him the data he had gathered. Currently, the mercenary groups that have completed their missions have a large number of low-level missions. However, only 153 mercenary groups had completed the intermediate and high-level missions. There are 30 high-level missions. Blood Demon Group and Invincible Group are not among the mercenary groups that completed high-level missions. Mo Hanshang's handsome face instantly revealed a smile as his clear eyes gazed towards Yiqing Luo excitedly. This challenge, our The World Group has won. This challenge would definitely belong to Yiqing Luo. It was impossible for the Blood Demon Group and Invincible to complete the Advanced Rare Quest. Furthermore, it's still a problem if these 2 groups will be able to return. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched, revealing a cold arc of ridicule. What do you mean? Emohan Shang asked puzzledly. A cold intent flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. Returning means that these 2 groups have already become the Dark Forces' tools. If they don't return, it means that these 2 regiments have already. He had been completely devoured by the Dark Forces. The Blood Demon Group and the Invincible Group must have made some sort of deal with Shangguan Liuli, which was why they had been targeting them ever since. Of course, they would borrow the power of the underworld to complete the high-level rare mission. Once it was done, it would be dead or alive. Chapter 954. Emohan Shang's delicate brows creased slightly as he propped his chin, as though he was pondering over something. After some time, he suddenly stood up. This matter is not a small matter. Blood Demon Group and Invincible Battles are after all mercenary groups from the Mercenary Association. Our Mercenary Association must take responsibility for this. He had to inform his father about this matter as soon as possible. Yi Qing Luo didn't stop him. As the young patriarch of the Mercenary Association, there were many times when Mo Hanshang had to stand on the Mercenary Association standpoint to look at everything. The crowd discussed for a while more before Yi Qing Luo asked everyone to go back to recuperate. Before they left, Yi Qing Luo took a look at the empty seat beside her as she sighed softly. Following that, she held on to Mo Xian's arm and left the meeting hall. Long Yunzhan, that fellow, he didn't even attend the World Group's meeting. He wanted to hide from everyone, but until when? Earlier in the meeting hall, although the mercenaries didn't mention a single word about Long Yunzhan, but she could still clearly see the gazes which the crowd shot towards the position beside her. Actually, no one blamed him. Only Long Yunzhan himself couldn't walk out. Yi Qing Luo sighed. If Long Yunzhan didn't want to appear, even if it was her, she probably wouldn't be able to find him. Thinking of that dragon, her ear suddenly felt warm. The man's lips had unknowingly stuck onto her earlobe. Yi Qing Luo's petite body trembled as her cheeks blushed red as she pushed his chest away. She subconsciously looked around. Our brothers are still around. Don't touch me. I'm touching my mouth. Mo Xian suppressed his voice as he gave an evil smile. Moreover, the relationship between us isn't a secret. Even if our brothers see it, that would be showing off our happiness to them. Preposterous logic. Yi Qing Luo's face flushed red as she raised her eyes and stared at him resentfully as she raised her little hand to slap his mouth. Stop fooling around. There are still many things to do. That dragon is a male dragon. Mo Xian caught her little hand on his thin lips, and when he spoke, not knowing if it was intentional or not, the tip of his tongue stuck out as it licked her palm. Yi Qing Luo felt ticklish and wanted to retract her hand. However, her small hand was held tightly by his big palm. Yi Qing Luo was so ashamed that she couldn't be bothered to struggle as she stared at him furiously. What nonsense are you thinking about? Ajan and I are just friends. You treat him as a friend, but he might not necessarily treat you as a friend. Mo Xian's grip tightened, his long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly as a glint flashed past. Yi Qing Luo was slightly stunned as her slender brows creased slightly. What do you mean? What did Long Yunzhan not treat her as a friend? If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't treat her as a friend, Long Yunzhan might have been controlled by the mysterious In Shi to the point where he couldn't wake up. Along the way, she and Long Yunzhan also had a revolutionary spirit. Staring at Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes for some time, the man retracted his gaze helplessly. Just as Yi Qing Luo was about to ask further, Mo Xian's large palm covered her head. His broad palms covered her bangs and covered her eyes. Stay here and rest. I'll look for him for you. Without waiting for Yi Qing Luo to speak, the warm palm had already left her forehead. When she opened her eyes, Mo Xian's figure was nowhere to be seen. Only his unique sandalwood scent lingered in the air as it seeped into her nostrils. On her forehead, there seemed to be remnants of his warmth. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips as she retracted her gaze. This man, what on earth was he thinking all day long? Why did it feel as though he was jealous of Long Yunzhan? Chapter 955. After Yi Qing Luo left the meeting hall, she didn't return to her room to rest. Instead, she went to God Thief's courtyard. She had just reached the entrance of God Thief's courtyard when she heard a clamorous noise coming from inside, as though they were arguing about something. Yi Qing Luo creased her slender brows in puzzlement. Although God Thief was a little unreliable, but no matter what, his temper was very good. Who was he arguing with? Yi Qing Luo walked into the courtyard and neared God Thief's room door. That door suddenly creaked open and a man wrapped in a white robe fell out from the room. Coincidentally, he knocked onto Yi Qing Luo. Ouch, ouch, ouch. The person who bumped into her cried out a few times in pain. Why does it sound so familiar? Young lady, why are you here? God Thief's voice was heard from the room. Following that, she saw God Thief, who was dressed in a nouveau riche, jumping out from the room. On seeing that man dressed in a white robe, when he knocked onto Yi Qing Luo, a sliver of astonishment flashed past his eyes. Yi Ching Luo didn't manage to catch this slight astonishment and astonishment. On a closer look, God Thief's expression was no different from usual. He directly stretched out his hand and grabbed hold of that man who knocked onto Yi Ching Luo, not forgetting to smile at her. "Young lady, wait a minute. I'll talk to you after I settle this old man." Saying that, he dragged that man as he walked into the room. That golden and dazzling wide-sleeve robe, which was embroidered with gold ingots, covered that white-robed man's face. Yi Ching Luo stared at their backs as they walked into the room, and the more she looked, the more familiar she felt. She walked up in quick steps and stretched out her hand to grab hold of that man. Wait a minute. With this tug, that man's face was completely revealed in front of Yi Ching Luo. Yi Ching Luo was first stunned as she cried out in shock. Ghost Doctor Master. This man was actually Ghost Doctor. Why was he here? Furthermore, and he seemed to be especially familiar with God Thief. Why are you here? Yi Ching Luo's curious gaze wavered between Ghost Doctor and God Thief. Ghost Doctor scratched God Thief's messy hair and tidied up his clothes as he coughed a few times. "Why am I here, coffee?" you ask him. Saying that, he shifted his gaze towards God Thief. Holy Pirate, who had been called out, broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing Yi Ching Luo's gaze really following closely behind, God Thief wiped his forehead. He's here because he's the Ghost Doctor. I'm asking him to help Xiao Yi detoxify the poison, and we're talking about the remuneration. He suddenly clapped his hands and said, "Yes, we were discussing the matter of payment, but he didn't agree to cure Xiao Yi." "Little girl, you came just in time." God Thief stretched out his hand and directly held onto Yi Ching Luo's shoulder, bringing her towards Ghost Doctor's side. "You call him Master, right? This is your master. You should persuade him to cure Xiao Yi's poison." Ghost Doctor's face was cold. His malicious eyes glared at Holy Pirate. But when he saw Yi Ching Luo walking closer to him, he could only temporarily restrain the ruthlessness in his eyes. "Little girl Luo, Master Ghost Doctor, I indeed wanted to look for you." When Yi Ching Luo saw Ghost Doctor, her mind was filled with Xiao Yi could be saved. She was not in the mood to care about the Ghost Doctor atmosphere between Holy Thief and the Ghost Doctor. He was not in the mood to expose the lame excuse that the God Thief thought of. Although she hadn't interacted with Ghost Doctor for a long time, but Yi Ching Luo was still very clear. Ghost Doctor was totally not interested in the things within the remuneration. Between them, they should be old friends. Yi Ching Luo didn't think in detail as she hooked on a Ghost Doctor's arm. "My brother has been poisoned by the purple poppy grass. I don't have the purple millet grass on me." And her body. Chapter 956. Yi Ching Luo's eyes flickered slightly. "I know. The poison in her body, I can't cure it." Ghost Doctor frowned slightly, revealing some impatience. "I don't have that antidote." What poison is she suffering from? Even Ghost Doctor didn't have that antidote. Other than refining medicine, the Ghost Doctor didn't have the slightest bit of interest in anything else. By right, Ghost Doctor should have all kinds of medicinal herbs on him. How could there be any medicinal herbs that he didn't have? Ghost Doctor lifted his eyelids. Looking at Yi Ching Luo's pale face, he calmly spat out 5 words. "Darkness 3 evil flower." Darkness 3 evil flower? Yi Ching Luo's body stiffened. What Shangwan Liuli said was indeed right. In Yin Xiao Yi's body, it wasn't just the purple poppy grass's poison. There was also the Dark Force's special medicinal powder. Darkness 3 evil flower antidote. What is it? Yi Ching Luo's lips were dry as she opened her mouth with great difficulty, asking. She had never heard of this poison. But, from Ghost Doctor's expression, she knew that this poison wasn't easy to cure. Moreover, the antidote for Darkness 3 evil flowers poison could it only be found on the Dark Force's side? So Ghost Doctor didn't have this antidote on him. Darkness and light are antagonistic, so the antidote for Darkness 3 evil flower must be refined using the light spirit immortal grass, together with other light medicinal herbs. Towards Yi Ching Luo's mention of medicinal herbs, Ghost Doctor explained very clearly. But the light spirit immortal grass can't be bought in any large medicine shops. There are only 2 stalks of light spirit immortal grass left in Nirvana realm, and they are in the Alchemist Guild. Alchemist Guild? Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. Alchemist Guild. Perhaps. She fished out a token and passed it to Ghost Doctor. I have the Alchemist Guild's pass. Can I see the Alchemist Guild chief? If it was the Alchemist Guild, there might be a sliver of hope. Muzi Fan was the Alchemist Guild's young chief. You and the Alchemist Guild. The Ghost Doctor furrowed her white brows and stared at the token for a long time, then hid the deep meaning in her eyes. If you can obtain the light spirit immortal herb, I'll help you refine the antidote for the darkness 3 demon flower. Yiqing Luo didn't ponder over Ghost Doctor's reaction. She rushed up and gave the Ghost Doctor a big hug, smiling like a flower. Sure, Fu. Thank you. The Ghost Doctor's tightly knitted white brows deepened. His stiff body was obviously not used to someone being so close to him. But when his malicious gaze swept past the smile on Yiqing Luo's face, his body stiffened, allowing Yiqing Luo to hug him. She acted coquettishly and acted cute, praising the Ghost Doctor to the skies. Only then did she wave her handkerchief and quickly leave to find Muzi Fei and inquire about Muzi Fan's whereabouts. Staring at Yiqing Luo's departing back view, Ghost Doctor was still maintaining the bear hug position as he stood frozen on the spot. What are you looking at? After being hugged by my little student, did your soul leave your body? Holy Pirate coldly glanced at him. He put on a fake smile and mocked him. Ghost Doctor stiffly moved his body as he turned his head and glanced coldly at Holy Pirate as he scoffed. Lass Luo is very smart. You'd better think of how to explain to her the reason why I'm here. Isn't it because of Xiao Yi, that child, that I casually grabbed the number 1 Ghost Doctor to detoxify? Holy Pirate replied sloppily as he touched his shiny hair as he walked into the house. In future, don't look for me if there's nothing. Ghost Doctor stood at the door as his white brows creased tightly as his expression sunk. Holy Pirate didn't force him to stay as he waved his hand. If I knew that Lass's words were so useful, I wouldn't have looked for you. Chapter 9:57. Pristine Elixir Medicine Hall. Cabinet bedroom. A red figure flew over like a gust of wind. The patrolling guards didn't have time to react before they saw the red figure directly rush into the bedroom. Zi Fei. A clear and sweet voice sounded. The figure stood still in the bedroom and looked around. Finally, her gaze fell on the youngster in the middle of the room. A pair of bright eyes flashed a trace of astonishment. Qing Luo, what's wrong? The youngster raised his head and saw her appearance. His lips slightly hooked, revealing a smile. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Muzi Fei was currently supporting himself with one hand on the table. There was an account book and ink on the table. His slender fingers were holding a page of the account book. An old man dressed in a doctor's robe was standing behind him, bandaging his wound. Most importantly, Muzi Fei's upper body was completely naked. Tight muscles, smooth lines. It was the body of a healthy youngster. The injury isn't serious. Yiqing Luo slowly walked over and stared at the scarlet wound on his back. There were several places where the skin was cut by a sharp weapon, and the bone was visible. Yiqing Luo saw the wound, and her slender brows immediately knitted into a ball. It's nothing. Muzi Fei shook his head, put down the account book, and waved his hand. The doctor tied the bandages, covered his back with his coat, and retreated. He stood up, his long robe falling down like a waterfall. He didn't tighten his pocket, revealing his chest muscles. However, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change as she stared straight at him. I'm sorry. Under her gaze, Muzi Fei instead felt shy. He raised his arm and wrapped his coat tightly when he heard her apology. Muzi Fei's hand paused. What apology? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been injured. When Muzi Fei heard this, he chuckled. He quickly fastened his belt and shook his head. How can I blame you? Joining a mercenary group and going on a mercenary group mission is in itself a dangerous thing. I'm a man. Encountering a bit of danger is a chance for me to grow. Why are you apologizing? Muzi Fei waved his hand indifferently. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. I will protect you in the future. Mu Zifan handed her over to him. She came back with such a heavy injury on her first mission. She was ashamed of Mu Zifan's trust and the Mu brothers' gentleness. Qing Luo. Mu Zifei suddenly raised his arm and placed it on her shoulders, frowning. How can a man like me let a little girl protect him? Don't feel guilty towards me. I know better than you what a mercenary group is. Since I've chosen to join, I've joined with the intention to become stronger and grow. People in the underworld would always encounter accidents. Why are you looking for me? Why are you in such a hurry? Seeing that Yiqing Luo was still looking down, Mu Zifei could only change the topic. Yiqing Luo, Mu Zi Luo's god. You're looking for my brother? Mu Zifei raised his eyebrows in curiosity. Yiqing Luo nodded. I want to ask him, what are the conditions to obtain the Light Spirit Immortal Grass from the Alchemist Guild? Light Spirit Immortal Grass? Mu Zifei muttered and repeated. What do you want the Spirit Immortal Grass for? The poison in Jia Xiaoyi's body. Yiqing Luo didn't hide anything. The poison in Xiaoyi's body has already started to spread, and I urgently need the Light Spirit Immortal Grass. Can you bring me to look for Zifan? Chapter 958. What? Yiqing Luo immediately perked up as she looked at Mu Zifei. He smiled. Have you forgotten what I mentioned to you on the day of the holidays? Mentioned on the day of the holidays? Yiqing Luo thought for a moment. You're talking about the alchemist competition? Yes. Mu Zifei's thin lips rose as he raised his brows. Aren't you going to take part in the alchemist competition? If you're able to stand out in the competition and win the championship, you'll be able to get quite a number of rare medicinal herbs, and the Light Spirit Immortal Grass is one of the prizes. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. Is what you said true? Why would I lie to you? I know you're going to take part in the alchemist competition, so I specially asked around for you. The prize for winning the championship this time is indeed a Light Spirit Immortal Grass. Mu Zifei's words ignited Yiqing Luo's hope. Originally, she thought she had to make a deal with the Alchemist Guild's chief before she could exchange for the Light Spirit Immortal Grass. If she could get the Light Spirit Immortal Grass by winning the championship, she absolutely had to go all out. If it was said that the reason why she agreed to the alchemist competition was because of the Mu brothers' invitation, she didn't want to brush them off, so she agreed to it. Then, her motive was even clearer now. Which day is the alchemist competition set for? Yiqing Luo asked anxiously. The poison in Yin, Xiao Yi's body, couldn't wait for too long. It's 5 days later, and the competition duration is 2 days. Mu Zifei replied. 5 days later. 2 days of competition, which was 7 days. 7 days. Yin Xiao Yi probably couldn't wait. Mu Zifei saw through Yiqing Luo's worries. Later, my brother will make a trip to the old residence to help suppress the poison in Xiao Yi's body, and she will definitely be able to last till you win the championship. Thank you. Yiqing Luo looked at him gratefully. It seemed that ever since she got to know the Mu brothers, it had always been the Mu brothers who helped her. She owed this pair of brothers more and more. You're the most seriously injured today. Quickly go back to the old residence to rest. Tomorrow you have to go to the academy. Mu Zifei comforted her with a smile. The world group's battle today. I'm afraid our name will spread throughout the entire West Continent and even Nirvana Realm. Tomorrow when we go to the academy, we probably won't be in peace. Yiqing Luo could imagine. The fact that she possessed the blue dragon and the white tiger, as well as the divine artifacts that all the forces wanted, must have spread, along with the news that the dark forces had invaded the Nirvana realm. Indeed, there was no peace for her. However, this was the path she had chosen for herself. Even if there was no peace, she had to continue down this path. At the very least, the other powerhouses would have to reconsider if they wanted to deal with the world group. When he returned to the old house, he found that the youths were all extremely quiet. Yiqing Luo felt strange as she followed the crowd's weird gaze and walked step by step to the front hall. 20 over youths were surrounding one person while Diamo Xian stood by the side with his arms crossed over his chest. Hearing someone call out, "Vice Captain," the 20 or so people immediately dispersed. A tall figure came into Yi Qing Luo's sight. That pair of azure blue eyes stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo for some time, and after regaining his senses, his eyes immediately shifted away unnaturally. It was Long Yunjian. He was forcefully brought back by Dmo Xian. He didn't dare to look her in the eye. Was he still feeling guilty? Yi Qing Luo lifted her feet and walked towards Long Yunjian. She could clearly hear those 20-over youngsters beside her drawing in cold breaths. They were worried that she would blame Long Yunjian because of this. That was true. Chapter 959. Yi Qing Luo walked to the front of Long Yunjian as she slowly raised her head. He still didn't dare to meet her eyes. Yi Qing Luo didn't force him. The one whose emotions were the most messed up should be him. The one who was under the most pressure was also him. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled slightly as she stretched out her hand to hold his arm. "Ah, Jean, it's good that you're back." Her voice was gentle with a tinge of relief. It was good that he was back. None of them would blame him. If he really felt guilty, then stay by everyone's side and accompany them. This was the real way to make it up to everyone. Long Yunjian's eyes flickered slightly. Following that, his gaze slowly met with Yi Qing Luo, as though he was slightly astonished. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she let go of Long Yunjian's arm. As usual, she smiled and said, all right, disperse, disperse." Following that, she patted Long Yunjian's arm. "Xiao Yi is in her room. She should be awake by now." Saying that, Yi Qing Luo walked towards Dmo Xian, and together with him, they walked towards the direction of their own courtyard. Long Yunjian was willing to come back, willing to appear in front of the brothers. That was enough. Now it was time for him to ponder on his own, or to face Yin Xiao Yi alone. The next day, early in the morning, the youngsters in the old mansion had mostly dispersed. All of them had already left for the academy. Yi Qing Luo didn't accompany anyone as she swaggered towards the academy's main entrance alone. As expected, the minute she appeared, she instantly became everyone's focus. Everyone's gazes were glued onto Yi Qing Luo. Their discussions were all about those rumors which they heard yesterday, as they tried to guess the authenticity of the rumors. Perhaps it was the deterrent effect of the rumors. Although they were discussing, no one dared to step forward to ask. When Yi Qing Luo neared, they subconsciously opened up a path. When she passed by the courtyard's entrance, the masters who were in charge of maintaining order stopped on her for a while longer. "Qing Luo," a clear voice was heard from behind. Yi Qing Luo halted her footsteps and turned back to see Lu Xiaoyu, who was carrying bags of all sizes, and her hands were hooked on 3 parcels, stumbling as she jogged toward her. As she neared, Yi Qing Luo could smell the aroma of pastries and meals. This little glutton. Why did he bring so many things to the academy after the holidays? Was he afraid that he would starve to death? Yi Qing Luo helplessly face-bombed and walked towards Lu Xiaoyu. He took down the 4 bags hanging from her neck and held them in his hands. "There's a canteen in the academy. You could just bring some snacks from home to the academy. Why bring so many things? My mother's culinary skills are very good. I want to bring it for you to have a taste." Lu Xiaoyu smiled coquettishly as she rubbed her face on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder, acting coquettishly. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly. "I can go over to your place to have a taste during the next holiday. There's no need to go through so much trouble." Lu Xiaoyu's dark eyes were sparkling. She tilted her head and looked at her. "During the holidays, you have to do the mercenary group's missions." At the mention of the mercenary group, Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. "Qing Luo, I've heard about it. The world group that you've established is really amazing." As soon as he said that, the surrounding students who were staring at the two of them all perked up their ears. No one dared to ask about the truth of the rumor. Since someone dared to mention it, they instantly raised their attention by 120%. "If you want to, you can join anytime." Yi Qing Luo rubbed her hair as the two of them walked towards the academy. Chapter 960. Lu Xiaoyu pouted her lips as she shook her head. "I'd better not go. When my ability is strong enough to help you, then I'll join." She knew her own limitations. If she were to join the World Mercenary Group, now and follow Yiqing Luo to complete missions, she would only become Yiqing Luo's burden. She didn't want to drag Yiqing Luo down. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards, but didn't reply. Her peripheral vision swept past the group of students who had pricked up their ears to listen to their conversation, as her eyes overflowed with a ridiculing smile. She was lamenting in her heart. Indeed, the strong were revered. She had the ability, but these students didn't even dare to fart. If it was during normal times, even if she and the cold-faced instructor came to a draw, there was still hope to enter the class of gods. When these students saw her, they didn't give her any respect or admiration. They were still cold and full of ridicule. However, but no one dared to get close to her, because her power was not only in the academy. In the pugilistic world, her reputation had already spread out. Those strong practitioners from various forces had to welcome Yiqing Luo with a smiling face. Not to mention these students. Qing Luo, I heard. Lu Xiaoyu suppressed her voice as she leaned towards Yiqing Luo's ear and asked in a low voice, "You have a blue dragon battle pet and one of the 4 sacred beasts. White tiger. Is it an exaggeration or is it true?" This question, ever since she heard the rumors, she had been suppressing it till now. She wasn't interested in divine relic or whatever. But towards battle pets, she had a huge interest. Yiqing Luo had yet to reply when she heard those students who were following closely by her side, getting closer and closer. These students, their profound, great, innate talents weren't bad. Their hearing was naturally different from ordinary people. Although Lu Xiaoyu's voice was suppressed to an extremely low level, but their ears were sharp and could still hear it. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she retracted her gaze from those students. Her lips curled upwards as her voice wasn't low nor loud, as though she was having a casual chat. "Yes, next time there's a chance, I'll let you meet them." Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up as she shouted, "Long live Yiqing Luo." The hearts of the surrounding students trembled. Yiqing Luo, she really had a blue dragon and white tiger. The rumors were true. Yiqing Luo helped Lu Xiaoyu to carry the bag back to the dormitory and had just placed the things down when she saw a group of gorgeously dressed female students rushing towards the entrance with a fawning smile on their faces. "Student Yi, we haven't seen you for 3 days. We really missed you." A female student rushed forward as though they were very familiar with each other, stretching out her hand in an attempt to hold onto Yiqing Luo's arm. "Student Yi, we brought quite a number of little toys from home, and it's rather rare. Do you want to come over and take a look?" "Who are you?" Yiqing Luo frowned as she avoided his outstretched hand. The female student did not feel awkward at all. "I am a student from the Intermediate Profound Class 1, and also one of the 3 biggest jade shops in 3 Spring City, the Yu family's 3rd little brat." Before he could finish his words, Yiqing Luo raised her hand to stop him. "I'm not interested to know who you are. Move aside." "Student Yi, we are all members of your loyal escort group. We worship you very much." That's right. "Student Yi, Goddess Yi." Various kinds of flattering voices made Yiqing Luo's brows crease tightly. He thought it was because of the power of the rumor. Yesterday, he was still worried that it wouldn't happen. He had not expected. It was quiet all the way back to the academy. When he returned to the dormitory, he was pestered instead. Chapter 9:61. The moment this voice was heard, the entire dormitory fell into silence. Those 5 female students instantly turned their heads and shouted respectfully towards the door. "Vice President." They saw Lu Xiaoyu standing at the door with a frosty expression. That icy, cold face was expressionless, as though there wasn't any emotion on it. Her icy, cold gaze stared at Yiqing Luo as she scoffed. "You still know that I'm your vice president?" The female student's body trembled as she lowered her head. "You're here in the academy to learn and to become stronger, not to climb up the social ladder, try to please this and that." Lu Xiaoyu's tone couldn't conceal the disgust. Of course, the target of this disgust was only Yiqing Luo alone. Lu Xiaoyu rushed up as she placed her hands on her waist and stood in front of Lu Xiaoyu as she gave a light harumph. You make it sound as though you didn't intentionally try to please anyone or flatter anyone. I have a clear conscience. Lu Shuiyu looked at Yi Qing Luo in disdain. I'm not as hypocritical as some people, just having a little bit of good luck, and you insist on making it known to everyone, making everyone flatter her. There's some people, in her words, who she was referring to was too obvious. Lu Xiaoyu was so angry that her face flushed red as she fiercely spat at her. Don't say that you didn't intentionally try to please the president. You didn't flatter the president. And Elder Yin Xiang sighed. I've seen quite a number of you trying to please them. Lu Shuiyu's throat choked as her face flushed red, not being able to say a single word of rebuttal. But Lu Xiaoyu persisted in her infuriating character as she stuck out her tongue and continued. Don't make it sound as though everyone is the same as you, loving to be flattered. My Qing Luo likes peace and quiet the most. My Qing Luo doesn't like these people who pester her. Following that, she imitated Lu Shuiyu's earlier tone as she sneered. My Qing Luo isn't like some people, putting on the vice president's airs all the time, as though afraid that the other students don't know that someone is the vice president. You, Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Shuiyu was so angry that her face, which had always been frozen, suddenly cracked. But in a blink of an eye, Lu Shuiyu was already right in front of Lu Xiaoyu as she raised her hand and gave a tight slap towards Lu Xiaoyu's face. You've been poked in your sore spot, and now you're desperate. A slender, jade-like hand grasped Lu Shuiyu's wrist, and a cold voice sounded in her ear. You dare to touch my people in front of me. It seems that the vice president has lived a peaceful life for too long, so you want to play something exciting. His 5 fingers suddenly tightened their grip. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Lu Shuiyu's ice-cold face suddenly turned pale, and cold sweat broke out. The feeling of 5 fingers directly passing through her skin and stabbing into the depths of her bones was simply excruciating. But Lu Shuiyu refused to admit defeat in front of Yi Qing Luo. He didn't want to make a sound as he endured the pain in his arm. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as her vision swept past those terrified and uneasy female students who were standing by the side. He remembered, weren't these the female students who had been pestering and flattering Lu Shuiyu? When she first came to the dormitory, these students even deliberately caused trouble for her. It was no wonder that Lu Shuiyu was being sarcastic. She sneered as her vision slowly fell onto Lu Shuiyu's pale face, which was enduring silently. Seeing the vicious sneer on Lu Shuiyu's lips, Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched coldly. His 5 fingers tightened his grip once again. A few pushing waves and a few cracking sounds were heard. Chapter 962. Lu Shuiyu was flung aside as she staggered backwards several steps. Those few female students subconsciously supported her. Lu Shuiyu's right arm hung limply, and the moment she moved slightly, she felt a piercing pain. Her face, which had turned pale from the pain, surfaced a cold smile. Yi Qing Luo, your unhappiness is about to come. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she didn't think much of it. Oh, really? Then touch your hand and see. Who's the one who's going to be unhappy? Lu Shuiyu's smile froze as she stretched out her hand to touch her arm. The moment she touched it, it was a piercing pain. She bore with it as her 5 fingers clasped onto the joints of her arm. It wasn't broken. Moreover, she couldn't feel any signs of injury, as though the crack sound earlier was just an illusion. But her hand was still in pain. The pain was unbearable. What did you do to me? Lu Shuiyu's aloof face was filled with viciousness. I didn't do anything. You and I are both women, so what can I do to you? Yi Qing Luo's words, which were filled with hidden meanings, floated out casually. Those 5 female students understood the hidden meaning in her words as their faces flushed red. Lu Shuiyu's face turned green and red as she gritted her teeth and stared at the people behind her, still not supporting me to leave. She didn't believe that her arm was completely fine. The students took a look at Lu Shuiyu, and in the end, under Lu Shuiyu's authority, they supported her to leave. Before they left, Lu Shuiyu's chilly voice came out from the slits of her teeth. Yi Qing Luo, You won't be so lucky forever. Looking at Lu Shuiyu, who was like a defeated rooster as she left dejectedly, Lu Xiaoyu laughed out unkindly. Qing Luo, did you see her expression? She looked as though she was covered with a pile of **T. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched. From a moment she decided to place the world group in front of everyone, deciding to shine brightly. She had no intention of enduring silently. Since Lu Shuiyu insisted on bumping into the gun, she naturally wouldn't miss this chance. After all, Lu Shuiyu was the faculty council's vice president. The news of him injuring Lu Shuiyu would soon spread throughout the academy. But Lu Xiaoyu smiled and suddenly thought of something. Her face darkened. If this matter is spread out and Lu Shuiyu wants to hold you responsible, wouldn't you be breaking the rules? Yi Qing Luo gave an elegant smile, as she didn't mind. Before you pursue responsibility, you have to produce evidence. Lu Shuiyu endured the pain in her arm. She didn't want to lose face as the vice president in front of the female students. There was another purpose. That was to make use of this matter to accuse Yi Qing Luo of harming her classmates. How would Yi Qing Luo give Lu Shuiyu this chance? You want to pursue the matter? Bring out the evidence. Lu Xiaoyu blinked her bright eyes as if she had understood something. Lu Shuiyu's arm will continue to hurt for 2 to 3 days, but I can't find anything wrong with it. Uff. Lu Xiaoyu doubled over in laughter. This move was simply too despicable. However, it was really satisfying. As expected, within 1 hour, the matter of Yi Qing Luo and Lu Shuiyu's conflict had spread throughout the entire courtyard. But unfortunately, there wasn't any problem with Lu Shuiyu's arm. Yin Xiang had always stood on Lu Shuiyu's side, and when he heard about this, he naturally checked on it secretly. But the 5 students present were all vague about it. Chapter 963. Since the student had already said so, Lu Shuiyu was destined to swallow this loss forcefully. Just as Lu Shuiyu was thinking of ways to take revenge on Yi Qing Luo. But there was news of Yi Qing Luo being invited by the young chief of the Alchemist Guild to attend the alchemist competition. This news was not publicized by the academy. The director would naturally not reject the personal invitation from the young chief of the Alchemist Guild. He only sent Yun Xiang to negotiate with Yi Qing Luo and confirmed that she would report to the Alchemist Guild tomorrow. Lu Shuiyu got the news from Yun Xiang. Faculty Council, deep in the secret passage. Lu Shuiyu walked briskly. The expression on her face was different from the usual frosty look. There was a hint of joy. She pushed the door open and saw the green-robed man who was bending over the table to read the documents. The warmth in her eyes grew thicker. Her lips were also tainted with a smile. She slowly walked forward and said in a soft voice, "President, I am here." Si Yanmu slowly raised his head. His gentle eyes gazed at Lu Shuiyu elegantly. After a while, his gaze fell on her obviously unnatural arm which was hanging by her side. "Arm, is it still not healed?" "No, nothing." The gentle voice made Lu Shuiyu's heart tremble. That concerned tone made her want to sink into this gentleness. Si Yanmu slowly stood up. His green and white uniform was like a wave, rolling and sliding down. It made that gentle and elegant handsome face look even more refined. He walked closer to Lu Shuiyu and held her injured arm. "It has been 2 days, still not healed?" A strong masculine scent sprayed into her nose. Lu Shuiyu's icy cold face had long been dyed red. She stared at the man in front of her in a daze, staring at his gentle eyes. His touch made Lu Shuiyu's delicate body tremble slightly. Immediately, a burst of pain came from her right arm. But Lu Shuiyu seemed to feel nothing. She just stared at Si Yanmu in a daze. As long as Si Yanmu was this gentle to her, even if it took her life, she would gladly endure it. "All right." Si Yanmu let go of her hand and slowly walked back to the wooden table. That scorching temperature suddenly disappeared. Lu Shuiyu opened her mouth and wanted to stop Si Yanmu. But looking at his watery smile, she couldn't take the initiative to speak. Her right arm was fixed by Si Yanmu. However, she felt a heavy sense of loss in her heart because of his approach and departure. "Tell me, what did you find out?" Si Mu did not seem to notice the affection in her eyes. He just lowered his head and continued to stare at the documents on the table. Lu Shuiyu regained her senses and immediately put on a stern look. I heard from Elder Yunxiang that Yiqing Luo will leave the academy tomorrow and head over to the Alchemist Guild. Si Mu did not like women who mix public and private affairs. So, when it came to matters of duty, she would try her best to suppress her feelings towards Si Mu and be his most important and capable assistant. Si Mu raised his eyelids. You are leaving the school tomorrow. Yes, the alchemist competition will last for 2 days. You must arrive at the Alchemist Union 1 day in advance to obtain the competition qualification certificate. Lu Shuiyu didn't know what was the purpose of Si Mu asking her to find out about Yiqing Luo's whereabouts, but she would obey Si Mu's orders unconditionally. Chapter 964. President, is there a problem? Lu Shuiyu asked puzzledly when she heard Si Mu's low murmur. Si Mu chuckled softly, like the spring breeze caressing the face and blooming flowers. No problem, just a little surprised. Classmate Yi is indeed a legendary student. Lu Shuiyu's face stiffened. Hearing Si Mu's praise of Yiqing Luo, it made her very uncomfortable. To be able to get the artifact, subdue the supreme dragon, and one of the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger, and also know the art of alchemy. If she could join the faculty council, it would definitely be beneficial to the development of the faculty council. Si Mu's smile grew wider, as if mentioning Yiqing Luo's name made him very happy. This smile, however, made Lu Shuiyu's heart dull pain. She did not want Si Mu to show the slightest affection and appreciation to any woman. Si Mu belonged to her. He belonged to her alone. All right, you can leave first. Si Mu's slender fingers gently brushed his thin lips, revealing a meaningful smile. Immediately, he dismissed Lu Shuiyu. Lu Shuiyu was stunned. The blood in her body seemed to solidify. A woman's intuition told her that Si Mu was interested in Yiqing Luo. No, she would not allow anyone to touch her president. Lu Shuiyu clenched her fists, but her face was expressionless as she bowed and turned to leave. When Lu Shuiyu's figure left the room, Si Mu, who had a gentle smile on his face, was no longer smiling. What replaced it was an extremely strong hostility. That gentle face emerged a few traces of murderous intent. He got up and bowed respectfully to somewhere behind him. Lord Holy Technique, Yiqing Luo will set off tomorrow to the Alchemist Guild. The next day, while the students were in class, Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy. The Mu brothers were waiting at the door. When they saw Yiqing Luo coming out, they came forward. 2 horses and a carriage. These 2 were very considerate. Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy, completed the task, and left without looking back. Are you ready? Mu Zifan looked at her. He didn't sense any alchemy equipment on her body. Yiqing Luo smiled. There's no need to specially prepare anything. Isn't an alchemist competition particular about fairness? I believe you all wouldn't allow alchemists to bring along their own cauldrons to compete, right? Mu Zifan laughed out loud. So you know the rules. It is indeed so. The alchemists participating in the competition must use the medicinal cauldrons prepared by the Alchemy Union. That was a given. If an alchemist was allowed to have their own medicine cauldron, it would be unfair to many alchemists. Of course, the success rate of alchemy was closely related to the medicinal cauldron. Mu Zifan handed over a package in his hand. These are some pastries. If you get hungry on the road, you can eat them to fill your stomach. The minute Yiqing Luo received it, she smelled the fragrance of the pastries. She smiled. Thank you. Let's go. If we don't hurry, it won't be good if we're late. Mu Zifei urged, lifting the curtain. If there's anything, we can talk on the road. It was indeed getting late. From a Heavenly Academy to the Alchemy Union, it would take at least 12 to 14 hours of journey. Once they arrived at the Alchemy Union, they still had to collect the qualification certificate. Yiqing Luo turned her head and took a look at the magnificent, palace-like academy. In her mind, there seemed to be an image of a man dressed in a purple robe with peerless elegance. Knowing that she was leaving the academy today, he still didn't rush back? Or was he so busy that he didn't know that she was leaving the academy today? After a long while, she slowly retracted her gaze and turned back with a slight sense of loss. Chapter 965. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. A low, husky voice floated down from above her head. Why? Waiting anxiously. Who are you waiting for? The familiar sandalwood fragrance seeped into her nose. The man's warm embrace made a certain part of her heart feel as if it had been stabbed by a deep, evil thing. Ah, Xian. He was really here. I'm waiting for you. Yiqing Luo replied honestly without any shyness. The arms around her waist tightened. The man's low, husky voice, because of the young lady's honest words, had a gentle expression and joy in his eyes. Not willing to leave me for even a moment? Yiqing Luo turned around, and her petite body went into his arms. Her eyes were crystal clear without any impurities. Ever since the holidays ended and she came to Heavenly Academy, this man had left without saying goodbye. Yiqing Luo knew that his imperial palace's matters had not been settled. He rushed over to King Ling's tomb because he sensed that she was in danger. Especially now that the dark forces had invaded Nirvana realm, he needed the first imperial palace to step in. She suppressed the urge to meet Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had his own matters to attend to. She had said it before. Dmo Xian could not possibly stay by her side. She was very clear about this point. So during this period of time, she had put all her heart into the pill refining room, following Ghost Doctor to continue learning pill refining skills. Right now, the most important thing was not romance, but to cure Xiao Yi of the poison. She had to get first place in the alchemist competition. Because of this, a total of 4 days. She had not even met Dmo Xian once. In the end, he still came. She hugged his waist, absorbing his unique aura. Yiqing Luo felt a sense of satisfaction, flowing from the bottom of her heart. You have plenty of time to be mushy on the way. Now get on the carriage. Mu Zifei's teasing voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo suddenly opened her eyes and raised her head from Dmo Xian's arms. Seeing Dmo Xian, she had forgotten where she was and what she was going to do. Seeing Mu Zifei winking at her, Yiqing Luo's face flushed red instantly. She abruptly pushed Dmo Xian's chest, lifted the curtains, and squeezed in. Outside the carriage, Mu Zifei's laughter was heard. Dmo Xian's lips curled slightly, as his eyes were filled with unconcealable gentleness. The purple robe was like a cloud, sweeping past the eyes of the Mu brothers. A mellow voice floated into the ears of the Mu brothers. Thank you for taking care of little Luo. The Mu brothers were stunned. Regaining his senses, Dmo Xian had already entered the carriage in a flash. If an ordinary person were to express his gratitude, it might not even be worth mentioning. But if it was placed on Dmo Xian, the overlord, the significance of that was extraordinary. Who was Dizun? The palace lord of the #1 imperial palace, a man who was known as a legend. High and mighty, incomparably noble. Even if the Alchemist Guild's alliance chief personally invited Dmo Xian might not give face to the alliance chief. But this man did it for a woman. Thank them. This also indicated that Dmo Xian had already remembered them from the bottom of his heart. He would definitely repay them at the right time. It could be seen that Dmo Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Moreover, their love was extremely deep. The night was deep. The Mu brothers stopped their horses and prepared to rest for a while in this forest. The 2 horses were tired after running for a day. Moreover, Yiqing Luo was a woman after all. After being jolted on the carriage for such a long time, it was indeed time for her to rest. They hunted some wild game and ate some pastries. Chapter 966. Perhaps it was because she was worried about Yin Xiao Yi. Even in the carriage, nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, she didn't feel sleepy at all. She then quietly got up and exited the carriage. She replaced Mu Fan on night watch. After pushing for a while, seeing Yi Qing Luo's insistence, he said that he would wake up 2 hours later to continue night watch. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand as she flipped over and leapt onto a thick and sturdy tree. Sitting against the wind, she gazed at the bright moon in the sky. In her mind, everything that had happened recently was rearranged from the beginning to the end. She was also sorting out the dark forces and the motive of that king of darkness. She was also guessing how many people around her had already been controlled by the dark forces. After thinking about it, she had no clue at all. Suddenly, Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed as her ears twitched as though she heard something. Her eyes, which were fixated on the bright moon, flashed a chilly intent. Her fingers moved, and the glower flame fan entered her palm. At this moment, her figure was as light as a feather as she leapt down from the big tree. She shot a glance at the both of them who were resting. In order not to disturb them, she could only end the battle quickly. Yi Qing Luo's fingers moved, and the glower flame fan opened up. A burst of profound qi broke out from her body and condensed on the glower flame fan. Facing the wind, it slashed out numerous sharp blades. A large patch of trees in front of her instantly fell. Yi Qing Luo's figure swayed as she scurried to the end of the fallen tree. A bewitching red dress, under the moonlight, was like a blazing rose blooming in the dark night, emitting a suffocating, fatal charm. She had just stood still. From all directions, a bunch of assassins dressed in black and covered in black cloth appeared. 30 over people, the weapons in their hands sparkled under the moonlight, directly surrounding Yi Qing Luo within. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as there wasn't a trace of panic on her face. Yo, still playing encirclement? Yi Qing Luo sneered as she swept the glower flame fan. The bewitching red glow was as fast as lightning as it directly shot out a wind blade. Following that, numerous silver threads shot out from the top of the glower flame fan, directly entangling those 30 over assassins. The speed was so fast that those assassins didn't even have time to react before their necks were sliced off by a cold, slender thing. Wherever Yi Qing Luo went, the assassins didn't even have time to cry out before they died. Blood splattered. Yi Qing Luo was like a fairy dancing under the moonlight, flirtatious and amorous. It wouldn't take long to deal with these assassins. In just a moment, the 30 assassins were all taken care of. Just as she was about to turn around, a killer suddenly sprang out from the bushes beside her, the curved blade in his hand directly chopped towards Yi Qing Luo's neck. Yi Qing Luo's reaction was swift as she bent her waist backwards and somersaulted sideways, trying to avoid the killer before settling him. Unexpectedly, when the killer saw her bending down to avoid the attack, he suddenly turned his hand and cut his own neck. This action made Yi Qing Luo extremely stunned. The hot blood of the assassin splashed onto the ground. No matter how fast Yi Qing Luo's reaction was to swiftly evade, she was still splashed with blood. The pungent smell of blood was extremely strong. Yi Qing Luo swiftly retreated a few steps to avoid the killer's corpse falling down. He raised his hand and wiped the blood off his face. His pupils constricted. The thick smell of blood seemed to make one go berserk. Bright red blood stained her eyes. There seemed to be something spreading in her heart. It was a very subtle feeling, and Yi Qing Luo didn't catch it. Chapter 9:67. The sight of blood incessantly stimulated her heart. The thick stench of blood also pervaded Yi Qing Luo. She pressed one hand to her heart and the other to her head, moaning in pain. Little Luo, DMO Xian was jolted awake. The softness in his arms was long gone. Hearing the commotion outside, DMO Xian quickly got up and followed the sound. He saw Yi Qing Luo standing in the middle of the pool of blood. Assassins. DMO Xian's brows creased tightly as he looked at the young lady who was standing in the middle, not knowing if she was deep in thought or doing something, as he stood there in a daze. He shouted a few times, but there was no response from her. DMO Xian's heart skipped a beat as he flew forward, his arm habitually circling around her slender waist. Little Luo, what's wrong? What happened? As soon as he finished speaking, the girl in his arms actually raised the glowing flame fan and stabbed it towards his heart. DMO Xian sensed something amiss and swiftly retreated. Yiqing Luo stabbed empty air and slowly withdrew her hand. Little Luo, DMO Xian's expression sunk slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo worriedly. Her beautiful face was filled with a cold light. Her pink lips were slightly pursed, revealing a gloomy and terrifying sneer, as though she was ridiculing DMO Xian. This face was indeed Yiqing Luo's face. This body was indeed Yiqing Luo's body. Even the way she played with the glower flame fan and squinted her eyes was no different from Yiqing Luo. However, the look in her eyes made one's heart tremble. Well, what was going on? Why did Yiqing Luo suddenly become like this? Not allowing DMO Xian to ponder further. Yiqing Luo's hand, which was fiddling with the glower flame fan, had already speedily opened up the feather fan, directly attacking towards his direction. The wind blade, which was glowing with red profound light, struck towards DMO Xian. The majestic and powerful profound chi did not have the slightest bit of mercy. DMO Xian swiftly retreated half a step and saw that the ground where he was standing earlier had several deep fissures. The ground cracked and the mountains shook. His expression was cold and his brows were tightly knitted. Lil Luo was really merciless towards him. Her charming eyes were filled with a strong, killing intent. The familiar face was filled with madness and bloodlust. Lil Luo. DMO Xian called out Yiqing Luo's name sharply. However, her next beam of mysterious light had already attacked. Kill you. A low murmur came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth. Her eyes were empty, but they were filled with a strong, gloomy coldness. She leaped up into the air and slashed out with profound energy that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. The piercing aura was swift and fierce, and it swept over from all directions. DMO Xian had no choice but to form a barrier to defend himself. He could not attack Lil Luo Air and could only dodge Lil Air's attacks. The current Lil Luo was obviously being controlled by something. It was exactly the same as a few days ago when Long Yunjian was being controlled by the profound Yin energy. Could it be? Was it the work of the dark forces again? When did the dark forces make their move? How'd he do it? All these could only be known after Yiqing Luo was awakened. DMO Xian's brows creased tightly as he dodged and evaded, not forgetting to call out Yiqing Luo's name. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as Yiqing Luo's leaping body spun and attacked downwards. This time round, DMO Xian didn't dodge. He speedily locked Yiqing Luo's arms as he stretched out his hand to encircle her waist. Lil Luo, calm down a little. He unleashed a powerful, profound chi. No matter how Yiqing Luo struggled, she was unable to break free from DMO Xian's restraint. Towards DMO Xian's call, Yiqing Luo seemed as though she couldn't hear it at all. Her scarlet eyes were filled with murderous intent. Chapter 968. DMO Xian's eyes darkened as he released her arm and swiftly retreated. He wasn't afraid that Yiqing Luo would hurt him, but he wasn't willing to see Yiqing Luo using the method of hurting herself to hurt him. Yiqing Luo grinned and smiled without any warmth. His nimble figure followed closely behind. The devouring flame fan at his fingertips stirred up a gust of wind. Her attack came straight at him once again. As DMO Xian was dodging, he turned his head and saw the Mu brothers who were still in deep sleep. He became more and more vigilant. He and Yiqing Luo had created such a huge commotion, but the both of them were still in deep sleep. Looked like the matter of Yiqing Luo falling into the control was premeditated. She seemed to have noticed his gaze. Yiqing Luo's gaze followed closely and looked over. The corners of her lips curled into a strange arc as Yiqing Luo leapt into the air and stretched her body. The red-clothed girl stood in front of the Mu brothers in the blink of an eye. DMO Xian's brows were icy cold as he berated in a low voice. Lil Luo, you want to kill the Mu brothers? Stop. At this moment, DMO Xian was completely certain. The matter of Yiqing Luo being possessed absolutely had something to do with the dark forces. Wasn't playing with people's emotions the most common trick of the dark forces? Just like the previous Long Yunjian, controlling Long Yunjian to assassinate Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo died when Long Yunjian regained consciousness, he would definitely commit suicide to accompany her. Whereas if Yiqing Luo killed Long Yunjian in order to survive, that was to kill his own brother with his own hands. But now, she controlled Yiqing Luo to kill him and the Mu brothers. If Yiqing Luo really hurt the Mu brothers, when she woke up, she would definitely be filled with guilt. In this life, he would never be able to walk out of this guilt. These methods were all meant to toy with one's heart and emotions in the palm of one's hand. DMO Xian could not allow Yiqing Luo to do something that she would regret for the rest of her life. His figure was as swift as lightning as he sped towards Yiqing Luo's direction in an attempt to stop her. Yiqing Luo had already slid out the glower flame fan. The dagger on the fan handle, under the moonlight, emitted a cold luster. Raising the dagger high, he expressionlessly plunged it down towards Mu Zifei. A soft sound rang out. Yiqing Luo's raised dagger froze on the spot. His whole body suddenly stiffened. DMO Xian's eyes lit up with delight as he stretched out his hand to hold her arm, which was holding onto the glower flame fan. Lil Luo. But when his vision met with Yiqing Luo's emotionless eyes, his joyful words were deflated back. She was still obsessed with lust. That kid from the Imperial Palace. Why are you still in a daze? Quickly let little Luo sleep. She'll be fine when she wakes up. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice spoke in a commanding tone. The sudden voice made DMO Xian raise his eyebrows in vigilance as a strong, imposing manner spread out from his body. You don't need to care about my identity. Make Luo girl fall asleep immediately. My strength is limited, and I can't suppress the profound yin qi in her body. The voice urged him again. She could hear the anxiety in his tone, and also heard the intimate way he called out to Yiqing Luo. DMO Xian looked at Yiqing Luo, who was trembling all over, as though she was trying to struggle free from something. Gritting his teeth, he still raised his hand and hit the sleeping acupoint on Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo's body softened as she fell into his arms. Gazing at the young lady whose eyes were tightly shut, DMO Xian's eyes deepened. He carried her up and walked directly into the carriage. Chapter 969. There was no response for a long time. DMO Xian's deep black eyes flashed, his eyes were filled with ice, and his perception was raised to the maximum. The old voice sighed faintly and said, "Kid from the Imperial Palace, can't you just let this old man keep a secret?" DMO Xian's pupils congealed as he noticed the direction of the sound. It was coming from Yiqing Luo. His brows furrowed. "You are Lil Luo Ers. You can say that I am your master." Old man Song knew very well that there was no way to hide it from DMO Xian and could only tell the truth. "But that lass often calls me Old man Song." DMO Xian was sharp, and his gaze was like a torch fixed on Yiqing Luo's wrist. He held Yiqing Luo's wrist as he lifted up his wide sleeves. Sure enough, he saw that the bracelet on her wrist was faintly flashing with red light. "You are the artifact spirit of the Azure Dew bracelet." DMO Xian gently placed Yiqing Luo's wrist into the thin blanket. The doubts in his heart had been answered. Old Song was slightly startled. "You know about the Azure Dew bracelet? This exalted one naturally understands." DMO Xian replied apathetically. "This lord is also aware of the situation of Lil Luo's body, and also knows that profound jade heart in her body." DMO Xian. Old man Song's voice suddenly became serious, interrupting his words. He also immediately changed the way he addressed him. Old man Song's voice was very heavy. You already knew everything. Why didn't you mention it to little girl Luo? His tone was interrogative. He was questioning Dmo Xian from Yiqing Luo's point of view. Yiqing Luo's identity, as well as the profound jade heart in her body, it was all a secret that could not be made public. Dmo Xian knew everything about her. Then, why did you get close to the Luo girl? Old Man Song's voice was filled with anger. In Old Man Song's heart, he had treated Yiqing Luo as his own disciple, his own granddaughter. He had been observing Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian's relationship along the way. He assumed that Dmo Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Because of this, he didn't intentionally conceal his identity today. But if Dmo Xian had an ulterior motive for getting close to Yiqing Luo, then there was no difference between him and that king of darkness who tried to make a move on Yiqing Luo. No, he should be even more terrifying than the king of darkness. If everything that Dmo Xian had done was because he had a motive, that was deceiving Yiqing Luo's feelings. She could hear the heaviness in Old Man Song's tone, as well as his concern for Yiqing Luo, as though he was an elder. Dmo Xian's enmity towards him had gradually subsided. He leaned against the cushion behind him, bent his knees, and rested one hand on his knee in a lazy posture. Yes, I admit, from the beginning, when I was interested in Lil Luo, it was indeed her body that was different from normal people that attracted me. He was calm, and his tone was serious. His deep and quiet eyes were bright, without a trace of falsehood. So, you and Luo, you are together only because she's different from normal people? Old Man Song's tone clearly revealed some anger. Dmo Xian had yet to reply. His chest was grasped by a small hand. The girl nestled in the thin quilt gazed at his face with her hazy eyes. Her fair little hand was tightly gripping his clothes. Although she had just woken up from her dreams, but her consciousness was still clear. You have an ulterior motive for being together with me? Dmo Xian frowned and kept silent for a moment, but gave an irrelevant answer. Is it that old man who released your sleep acupoint? Chapter 970. Her hazy and sleepy eyes, at this moment, became clear and bright. Dmo Xian drooped his eyes, curled his rosy lips coldly. His eyes seemed to be swirling with whirlpools, unable to see the deep meaning in it. What do you think? That little hand that was tugging at his clothes slowly slid down. The young lady's eyelashes drooped. Each and every one of her thick and curly eyelashes trembled slightly. He couldn't read her emotions. She seemed to be depressed, but also seemed emotionless. Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes. This woman's trust in him was this little? Seeing that she didn't speak for a long time, Dmo Xian's brows revealed a trace of helplessness. In the end, he decided not to tease her anymore. Just as he was about to open his mouth to explain, the young lady's little head suddenly raised up. The black and white distinct eyes stared deeply at his peerless face. Her eyes revealed a trace of determination. The petite body directly crashed into Dmo Xian's arms. Soft arms, tightly wrapped around his neck. "Ah Xian, it's not that I don't trust you, nor do I blame you," she murmured in his ear. When she just woke up from her coma, the first sentence she heard was Old Man Song questioning Dmo Xian. And Dmo Xian's answer made her brain not too clear for a moment. Yiqing Luo leaned her head into Dmo Xian's arms, deeply inhaling his familiar sandalwood scent. From the beginning, if I hadn't aroused your interest, you wouldn't have saved me. From the beginning, if I didn't have what you wanted, you wouldn't have appeared in front of me again and again, circling around me. From the beginning, none of us knew that we would fall in love with each other. Yiqing Luo murmured softly. Her voice was filled with tenderness and honey, totally different from the usual arrogance. Dmo Xian opened his mouth to explain, but swallowed it back. Yiqing Luo propped herself up, looked up at him. From the beginning, didn't I use the knife to threaten you? I'm willing to get in touch with you. Isn't it also to borrow your strength, to make use of your ability? The more she said, the calmer Yiqing Luo was. The smile on her lips gradually deepened. From the beginning, none of us knew what would happen next. What's more, it's because I want to make use of you, because you're interested in me, isn't it? A soft sigh came from above. DMO Xian pinched her lower jaw, and his shimmering peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at her. Liluo, you've already said everything. What do you want me to say? Then listen to me obediently. That'll do. Yiqing Luo raised her brows, not to be outdone, stretched out her hand and tugged his collar. The man's body instantly fell over. Yiqing Luo took the initiative to kiss his lips. When their lips met, Yiqing Luo's hand went on to wrap around his neck. Finally, she whispered, "Ah Xian, I love you." Love D. Mo Xian's action of biting her lips paused as his body froze. His mind was filled with the 3 words which Yiqing Luo had said earlier. She said she loved him. This was the first time Yiqing Luo had expressed her feelings so boldly. DMO Xian's eyes were filled with ecstasy and filled with gentleness. Yiqing Luo was still waiting for his reply. The next moment, her body was pushed onto the carriage, and the man's burning hot body covered hers. DMO Xian's broad palm caressed Yiqing Luo's beautiful female body as a fierce kiss landed on her brow's face. Finally, he fiercely clamped her lips. His breathing became hotter. Chapter 971. Cough, cough, cough. Cough, cough, cough. A hurried and awkward cough suddenly rang out. Yiqing Luo, who was pushing DMO Xian's chest, stiffened. DMO Xian, who was lying on top of her body and continuously moving his hands up and down, paused. Following that, Yiqing Luo used all her strength and pushed DMO Xian off her body. Yiqing Luo had not expected that her one sentence of confession would actually cause DMO Xian to suddenly burst out in rage. She almost couldn't handle it. Smelly old man. DMO Xian's face was ashen as he gritted his teeth and spat out these 3 words. No man would be able to tolerate being disturbed at such a time. He even had the thought of destroying Old Man Song. Old Man Song coughed even more violently. This time, it was real. He was frightened. Ever since he had specially unlocked Yiqing Luo's sleeping acupoint, allowing her to witness DMO Xian's real face, he had shut off his sight and hearing, leaving the space for the couple. However, after waiting for a long time, the 2 of them did not seem to have any intention of calling out to him. Old Man Song's heart was filled with anxiety. He stealthily turned on his audio and video to see what was going on. Who knew? He was young and full of vigor. He was still in the carriage, and there were 2 people sleeping outside. The 2 of them had deep feelings for each other. He should be thankful that he had activated his hearing and hearing early enough to stop it. You 2 are so lovey-dovey. You can be as mushy as you want. But looking at the current situation, DMO Xian, don't tell me you don't want to find out what's going on with last Luo. If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo's body had mysteriously appeared profound in Qi, which was simply too unexpected, Old Man Song wouldn't have disturbed them at this timing. This concerned Yiqing Luo's health. Old Man Song couldn't wait any longer. Mentioning this point, DMO Xian's sunken face gradually turned grave as his eyes sunk. Right. What exactly is going on? Lass, Old Man Song asked Yiqing Luo. When did you come into contact with the dark forces? Why did I sense the mysterious in Qi in your body just now? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes in confusion. Me? Mysterious in Qi? You don't remember? DMO Xian held Yiqing Luo's little hand. Yiqing Luo was at a loss. He did not understand the meaning behind Old Man Song and DMO Xian's words. Could it be that she had forgotten something? DMO Xian did not intend to hide it from her. This matter must be made known to Yiqing Luo. Only by letting Yiqing Luo be clear of her current physical condition would she be able to find out how the profound in Qi seeped into her body. After listening to DMO Xian's description of what happened earlier, Yiqing Luo's eyes widened in astonishment. She was actually controlled by the profound in Qi, just like Long Yunjian. but she had not come into contact with the mysterious Enchi. Furthermore, she had a very strong sense towards the mysterious Enchi. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so unafraid of Yi Qian's moving and attacking profound Enchi. She didn't feel that her body was contaminated with the aura of the mysterious Enchi. Seeing Yi Qing Luo's eyes filled with shock and disbelief, Dimo Xian's brows creased tightly. The people from the dark forces are really endless. They can use any methods. Old Man Song said, "There's one more thing that's very strange. Right now, little girl Luo doesn't have the slightest bit of mysterious Enchi in her body. It's as if it was purposely erased." Purposely erasing it? Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she was filled with puzzlement. When on earth did the mysterious Enchi invade her body? And she was still unable to detect the presence of the mysterious Enchi? When Long Yunjian was awakened by her blood, his body still had that extremely dense, mysterious Enchi. Chapter 972. Then will I still have a lust control? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly. Old Man Song remained silent for a moment and said, "Dmo Xian, that fellow, should have sensed it." Dmo Xian frowned. His peach blossom eyes were filled with a chilling glint. He narrowed his eyes and restrained the chill in his eyes. When he opened his mouth to explain to Yiqing Luo, his tone was gentle. "You don't forcibly release your profound qi. Especially don't release profound qi higher than Earth Profound 4th grade. Stabilize at this boundary, and you'll be fine." Yiqing Luo was stunned. Last night, when the killer attacked, she indeed released Earth Profound 4th grade profound qi. Her original intention was to test the power of this profound grade. Then, it seemed that a killer deliberately committed suicide in front of her. He wanted to use his blood to stimulate the profound Enchi in her body. And my emotional instability, was it because of the profound Enchi in my body? Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something. Dmo Xian nodded solemnly. That's possible. Yiqing Luo's heart was in a state of utter disbelief. She had finally found the profound jade heart, obtained the divine weapon, and advanced to the profound grade. But she didn't expect that she was unable to consume the power of the Earth Profound grade. The more power she consumed, the more her emotions would be controlled by the profound Enchi. Wouldn't this make her become a max-level big boss, but had to become a 10th-level small boss to be abused by others? Heavens, wasn't God playing with her a little too much? Then, will I lose consciousness and attack Xian and my companions again? After the battle with Long Yunjian, Yiqing Luo understood this feeling very well, unable to attack the other party. But she couldn't bear for the other party to hurt her. "I will be by your side. I will find out the reason." Dmo Xian took her into his arms and pressed her head against his chest. His peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. A biting, cold, murderous intent flashed past. "Lil Luo, wait for me. I will think of a way." The heartbeat from her chest and the man's warm embrace made Yiqing Luo's heart gradually settle down. She raised her lips and smiled. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Old Man Song saw that both of them were in a good mood, and the matter had already been clarified, so he didn't disturb them any further. He shut off his hearing and went to investigate why Yiqing Luo was contaminated with the profound Enchi. Yiqing Luo shut her eyes as she deeply absorbed his aura, his taste, his everything, as long as he could remember him completely. Next time, if he really controlled his mind again, thinking of Dmo Xian, would she sober up? The Alchemy Union was located not far from one of the 4 continents. When Yiqing Luo and the rest arrived, it was noon on the 2nd day. Walking out of the carriage, Yiqing Luo discovered that the Alchemist Guild could be described as a city. It was a city for alchemists to live in. The passers-by were all alchemists dressed in green alchemy robes. Every alchemist wearing a green alchemist robe would have a badge that represented their rank pasted on their chest. This badge was issued by the Alchemy Union to prove one's alchemy level and ability. On both sides of the streets in the city, there were no other miscellaneous items. It was all medicinal herbs or various grades of pills. Even the air was filled with a thick fragrance of medicinal herbs. After Mu Zifan arrived at the city, he was summoned by the guards at the entrance. Chapter 973. Mu Zifan left first. Mu Zifei led the two of them to the inn first. They had already booked a room at the inn, but they didn't know that DMO Xian would accompany them. Right now, it was the alchemist competition, and the entire alchemy city was full. Then, why don't we go to the Mu family's courtyard there? Before he finished speaking, Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes. I'll share a room with Xian. It's all right. During the period when the academy had just started its term, DMO Xian would come knocking on her door every night and conveniently occupy her bed. They were already used to sharing the same bed. Since Yiqing Luo didn't mind, Mu Zifei naturally couldn't say anything. After leaving the things in the inn room, Mu Zifei brought Yiqing Luo to the Alchemy Guild to register and obtain the qualification certificate for the competition. After a day's journey, tomorrow is the competition. You must rest well tonight and recuperate your profound heart jade to its best state to face the various competitions tomorrow. After Mu Zifei finished speaking, he left to give Yiqing Luo enough time to rest. Yiqing Luo didn't sleep well last night and was indeed tired. The venue for the alchemist competition was set at the largest alchemy plaza in Alchemy City. At this time, the plaza was surrounded by many onlookers. When Yiqing Luo woke up early in the morning, DMO Xian was no longer by her side. She could only follow Mu Zifei to the plaza to register. However, he was stunned by the sight of the sea of people. Immediately, she frowned slightly. The biggest taboo in alchemy was to be disturbed. With so many commoners present, the participating alchemists wouldn't be able to refine pills in peace. When refining pills, there will be an enchantment around to prevent other commoners or alchemists from obstructing the alchemist's temperament. Mu Zifei explained. Yiqing Luo nodded. This was more like it. In the middle of the plaza stood a high platform. There were 6 white-bearded old men sitting on the high platform. They all had the demeanor of immortals. Mu Zifei sat in the middle of the old men and spoke a few words to them from time to time. Obviously, they were the judges for this competition. Seeing Mu Zifei come, the other 6 old men naturally recognized him and called him over. Mu Zifei urged Yiqing Luo, "Go in and register first. Find your position and wait for the first competition." Yiqing Luo followed the number on the certificate and found her position. She was in a corner of the square, and on her stone table were some medicine refining equipment, all of which had been destroyed. She was in an extremely sorry state. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. How could the Alchemy Union make such a careless mistake? Just as she was about to request Mu Zifei to change a set of equipment, Yiqing Luo acutely heard the whispers of several participating alchemists beside her. She glanced over from the corner of her eyes. Sure enough, she discovered that a few alchemists were huddled together and looking in her direction, their eyes full of ridicule. In other words, her position was not the fault of the Alchemist Guild. Could it be that the other alchemists were doing it on purpose? It seemed like it was her first time coming to Alchemy City. Why did these alchemists start to target her? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk slightly as she raised her eyes and stared fixedly at those alchemists who were still sniggering. Those few alchemists seemed as though they had not expected Yiqing Luo to have no fear at all, directly telling that it was done by them, as they were all stunned. But they had nothing to fear. Instead, he raised his eyebrows provocatively at Yiqing Luo, as though he was ridiculing her. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk even more. She had never been someone who was easy to provoke. Being directly stepped on in the face by others, she also did not have the habit of swallowing insults. Chapter 974. Mississippi, a clear voice suddenly came from behind. "Let's change seats. I'll give my seat to you." Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused as she turned around. She saw a young man dressed in a green alchemist robe looking at her with a face full of smiles. The young man looked slightly immature, about 16 or 17 years old, his face stained with dirt and dirt. But even so, Yiqing Luo could see the young man's delicate features and handsome eyebrows. That pair of clear bright eyes, she could tell that he was a rather silly and easy to bully. Sure enough, that young man had already walked forward and dragged Yiqing Luo towards his seat. It was just beside Yiqing Luo's seat. They destroyed your seat because they don't want you to participate in the competition. The young man muttered, "Don't look for them. They definitely won't admit it. If this goes to the chief, you'll be in trouble." Yiqing Luo allowed him to pull her and sat down on his wooden chair. She raised her brows. "I have no enmity with them. Why don't they want me to participate?" Because they said that you seduced the young chief and his brother and sold your body in order to win the championship. The young man stuttered as if he was very embarrassed. Yiqing Luo suddenly understood. She finally understood the reason why these alchemists targeted her. Just because she and Mu Zifei were close? They have the advantage in numbers. Even if you get the chief to speak up, you'll be the one to suffer in the end. The young man scratched his messy hair as he stared at Yiqing Luo. His cheeks flushed. "You're so beautiful, I don't want you to be bullied." Indeed a fool. If it was in normal times, Yiqing Luo would be too lazy to bother with such a person. But she felt that this young man was so silly that he was a little cute. He said a lot of things, but Yiqing Luo didn't make a sound. The young man seemed to feel that he was too talkative as he scratched his head in embarrassment and walked over to Yiqing Luo's stone table. "So, sorry for disturbing you. What's your name?" Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to him. The young man blinked his clear eyes and revealed a smile. "My name is Beiming Che." "Beiming Che? Beiming family again? Look, that vixen can't stay idle again and seduced other men. Isn't that North Sea trash? What's the use of seducing a good-for-nothing?" Perhaps his tone is unique. The few alchemists huddled together, gossiping, and then burst into laughter. His tone was filled with disdain. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter as she shot a glance at those talkative alchemists with an unhappy expression. Sorry." Beiming Che apologized again, lowered his head, and said, "Because of me, they also scolded you. These people only know how to talk about right and wrong. It's useless to have them." Yiqing Luo indifferently glanced at him. "You, whether you are a waste or not, it's not up to them to decide, but you yourself, whether you are one or not." Beiming Che was stunned, not expecting Yiqing Luo to say such words. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about him as she got up directly and walked towards her own seat. "If this is broken, there's no way to compete. It's better if I shut up." Yiqing Luo said indifferently, "Go back." Beiming Che moved his mouth, but on seeing her cold expression, he could only hang his head dejectedly and return to his seat. So what if the stone table was broken? Later on during the competition, she would just need another set of alchemy equipment. During the competition, she would not pursue this matter for now. Chapter 975. Yiqing Luo kept a low profile with the Alchemist Guild, as she exchanged a new set of alchemy equipment. As for the damaged stone table, to Yiqing Luo, it didn't matter at all. The person in charge of the alchemist competition, Elder Wu Tao, only politely requested to change the equipment for the competition when he saw this young lady who had a close relationship with the young alliance master and his brother. As for other matters, he did not mention a single word. Wu Tao had a good impression of her. Those open strife and veiled strife between alchemists, they had seen too much, especially for someone like Yiqing Luo, who was an enviable existence. Naturally, he would be pushed aside by the other alchemists. Naturally, he would not interfere in this matter if he could. Yiqing Luo brought along the refining tools and returned to her own position. The pharmacist sneered at him again. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her lips curled into a chilly arc. Go ahead, go ahead." After a while, there would be no chance for him to speak. Clang, clang, clang. The bell signaling the start of the competition had already rung. All the alchemists quickly returned to their positions. On the high platform, Mu Fan gave a speech according to the competition procedure. Then he got someone to bring the prizes of the champion to the high platform and place them there to motivate the various alchemists. Yiqing Luo knew that this was a segment that Mu Fan had specially arranged in order to confirm whether the Light Spirit Immortal Herb was among the prizes. When she saw the Light Spirit Immortal Grass being placed on the table, Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up slightly. There were indeed spiritual immortal herbs. When the prizes were placed on the table one by one, the alchemists let out exclamations of joy. They stared at the prizes in a daze, wishing they could take them all home. Bai Ming-che looked at the girl beside him in confusion. The expression on her face was too calm. It was as if these rewards were insignificant to her. Thinking of her indifference towards him just now, Bai Ming-che rubbed his nose and withdrew his gaze. Clang, clang, clang. After Mu Fan finished speaking, the second bell rang. This was the bell that signified the beginning of the competition. Standing on a high platform, Elder Wu Yao began to explain the rules. The competition was divided into 3 rounds. Today, the first written test and the second pill refining competition would be held. Tomorrow was the 3rd round of the competition. The overall results of the 3 matches will be added together. The results of the competition would be announced in the afternoon. Clang, clang, clang. The 3rd city's bell rang, signaling the start of the competition. The first round of the competition tested an alchemist's answers to questions related to medicinal ingredients, alchemy techniques, and various alchemy-related questions. To Yiqing Luo, who possessed the 100-pill refining pill and had read extensively at Ghost Doctor's place, this was totally not a problem. Carefree, and relaxed. Yiqing Luo had already finished answering the test paper before half of the time had passed. When she put down the brush and ink, the surrounding commoners all looked at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. Those few alchemists looked at Yiqing Luo suspiciously. He thought that she couldn't answer the questions on the test paper and gave up. The second round of the competition was a pill refining competition. Whoever refined a pill of better quality and better effect would be able to get a higher score. The duration of the competition was 1.5 hours. In the first hour, he could go to the medicinal herb storehouse below the high platform at any time to take the medicinal herbs he needed. For the next 2 hours, no alchemist was allowed to leave the position where they were refining the pills. After the competition began, a large group of alchemists swarmed into the medicinal ingredient warehouse. Yiqing Luo wasn't anxious. On the side, Bai Ming-che was not impatient either. Chapter 976. After an incense worth of time, more than half of the alchemists were out. Yiqing Luo then started to take action. Bai Ming-che saw this and followed into the medicinal herb storehouse. The medicinal herb storehouse was in a mess. Because of the frenzied snatching, various medicinal herbs were mixed together. The high-quality medicinal herbs were all taken away by those alchemists. Yiqing Luo took the medicine basket and walked 1 round around the medicinal herb storehouse. Half squinting her eyes, she went through the names of these medicinal herbs in her mind. Bai Ming-che originally wanted to follow Yiqing Luo and see what medicinal herbs she took. He would follow suit. From the written examination, Bai Ming-che felt that this beautiful lady was absolutely an incredible alchemist. At least, she was a grandmaster-level alchemist. However, Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the medicinal herb storehouse and didn't move. On seeing that there wasn't enough time, Bai Ming-che could only give up his original plan and went to take the medicinal herbs first. Just at this moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly opened. Her slender palm flipped, and a burst of strong, profound qi broke out from her body. The surrounding medicinal herbs followed the profound qi and rolled around. One by one, the medicinal herbs revolved around the profound qi and headed towards Yiqing Luo's medicine basket. But in a moment, Yiqing Luo's medicine basket was filled with medicinal herbs. She turned around and left the medicinal herb storehouse directly. The remaining large bunch of alchemists were all dumbstruck. Who would choose medicinal herbs in such a way? No one saw clearly what medicinal herbs Yi-Ching Luo had chosen. When she returned to the competition grounds, Yi-Ching Luo discovered that near all the stone tables, there were 2 white sails raised. The stone table at the alchemist's seat was separated from the other stone tables. Yi-Ching Luo understood. There were many alchemists, but every alchemist's pill, refining techniques, and knowledge towards medicinal herbs were all different. Every alchemist had their own set of secret pill refining methods. These skills must not be secretly learnt by other alchemists. These 2 white sails were to protect the secrets between the alchemists. Yi-Ching Luo placed the medicine basket by the side and started to refine pills. Ghost Doctor said before that the most important thing in refining pills was to be calm and composed, without any distracting thoughts, using the purest heart fire to refine the purest pills. Hence, she threw away all distracting thoughts. Winning the championship, obtaining the light spirit immortal grass, curing yin shao yi, etc., all these thoughts were thrown to the back of her mind. The only thought in his mind was to refine the pill that he planned to refine. A high-grade level 5 medicinal pill. High-grade level 5 pills could only be refined by alchemists above the rank of Grand Apothecary. Moreover, a Grandmaster Apothecary would have a very low success rate, not to mention high-grade medicinal pills. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Although Yi-Ching Luo had learnt alchemy skills from Ghost Doctor, but now she had only just stepped into the apothecary level. On the surface, the only thing missing was the word great. However, the difference in strength between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. He chose to take the risk to refine a high-grade level 5 pill mainly because she filtered all the remaining medicinal herbs in the medicinal herb storehouse. This was the only pill that could get a high score. The rest of the herbs could only be used to refine some upper grade level 2 or 3 elixirs, or lower grade level 4 elixirs. What Yi-Ching Luo wanted was a sure-win method. In that case, the fastest way would be to refine high grade level 5 pills. Yi-Ching Luo kept away all her thoughts as she took down that set of alchemy equipment and squatted directly under the stone table, sitting on the ground. Chapter 977. The participating alchemists were unable to see the refining techniques of the other alchemists. But those few judges standing on the high platform were able to see all the actions of the other alchemists. As the young chief, Mu Zifan concealed himself very well and only occasionally looked in Yi-Ching Luo's direction. But Mu Zifei's eyes were fixed on Yi-Ching Luo's direction, not even blinking once. From the time they knew Yi-Ching Luo, they had never seen Yi-Ching Luo refine pills. They only knew that the pills that Yi-Ching Luo refined were completely different from the other alchemists. Just what kind of secret was hidden within? As alchemists, they were naturally very interested in this point. But after watching for a long time, they only saw Yi-Ching Luo leisurely washing the utensils and took out stalks of herbs from the herb basket. While wiping the dust off, she carefully placed them into the utensils. No matter how they looked, it felt she didn't look like a professional alchemist. There were only 2 hours left to concoct the elixir, and she was still leisurely washing these medicinal herbs. Another half an hour passed, and Yi-Ching Luo finally stopped this action. She reached into the utensils and condensed profound qi at her fingertips, crushing all the herbs that she had just washed clean. Then she placed it on the stove at the side. Her palms moved and released the heart flame. The small flame began to refine these herbs. Yi-Ching Luo immediately began the next wave of washing, crushing, delivering, and increasing the power of the heart flame. Back and forth, on the third time, there was only 1 hour left to refine the pills. Mu Zifei was already sweating profusely. "Brother, what do you think Yi-Ching Luo wants to do?" Mu Zifan was calm and composed. His gentle face revealed a meaningful smile. "Look at the medicinal herbs she has chosen." Herbs? When Mu Zifei heard this, he immediately looked at Yi-Ching Luo's herb basket and the many discarded roots that had been torn off. He could roughly identify what herbs they were. Just now he had put all his attention on Yi-Ching Luo's refining techniques. He didn't pay attention to what herbs Yi Qing Luo took. He was slightly startled by what he saw. She can't be spirit ginseng. 1,000-leaf record. 9-tune leaf. These herbs added up one by one to refine. That's right. Mu Zifan's pitch-black eyes stared deeply at Yi Qing Luo as he slightly nodded. She wants to refine a 5th-grade medicinal pill, Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill. A 5th-grade medicinal pill? Or Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill? In the entire alchemy union, even a grandmaster alchemist wouldn't be able to confidently say that he or she could refine the pill. Yi Qing Luo, she actually dared to refine this kind of medicinal pill in the competition. Was she too confident in herself, or did she want to stake everything on one throw? Refining the Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill requires at least a day and a night's time. These 2 hours, she already wasted a full hour. How could she possibly succeed? Mu Zifei clenched his fists tightly as a worried expression surfaced on his face. If it's her, it's possible. Mu Zifan didn't know why, but he believed in Yi Qing Luo's ability. In his heart, Yi Qing Luo would never do anything that she had no confidence in. In order to save Yin Xiao Yi, she would definitely not lose this competition. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo had chosen to refine the Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill, it definitely represented that she had this confidence. As for the time spent on refining, and the fact that she had spent so much time on it. Chapter 978. Clang, clang, clang. The bell rang, accompanied by the elder's voice, which spread throughout the entire square. There is still one incense stick of time before the end of the competition. Hearing this time, the actions of those alchemists became more and more urgent. The released heart fire also became more and more vigorous. Some alchemists had already finished refining the pills, sweating as they sat in their positions, waiting for the last incense stick of time. Yi Qing Luo was currently using small fire to refine the tools. Wave after wave of heart fire constantly surged. Her forehead had already seeped sweat. It was impossible to say that she was not flustered. The Ice Spirit Ginseng Pill was originally not an easy pill to refine. If it was in normal times, she would need at least half a day to refine it. Moreover, it relied on the power of the Dragon God Cauldron. However, now she was using an ordinary tool that could not be any more ordinary. To refine it within 2 hours, it was really a bit difficult. But a bit difficult, she had to do it. She did not have the qualifications to lose the competition. She had to win. She had to win. The sweat on her forehead had already reached her curly eyelashes, blurring her eyes. Clang, clang, clang. Another burst of bell rang. There is still half an incense stick of time before the end of the competition. Yi Qing Luo's chin dripped a drop of sweat. She gazed at the tool, suddenly raised her palm, and slapped towards a nearby tool. That tool bounced up. In the next moment, a ball of heart fire directly wrapped that tool. Like a fire dragon, it completely swallowed that tool. Mu Zifei cried out, staring incredulously at that tool wrapped by the heart fire. Brother, the power of her heart fire is actually this. I will not misjudge people. Mu Zifan's eyes concealed a trace of excitement and joy. He finally waited for Yi Qing Luo to appear. He knew Yi Qing Luo could help him refine the pills he wanted. At the moment when the last incense stick of time was extinguished, that flame that wrapped Yi Qing Luo's tool suddenly dissipated. The tool fell into Yi Qing Luo's hands. She took out the pill and placed it into the medicine bottle provided by the Alchemist Guild. Immediately, she pasted her name on it. When the paper was stuck to the bottle flashed, and the paper fused with the bottle. Aside from the elders of the Alchemy Union, no one could open this bottle. This was also to ensure the fairness of the alchemist competition. After the second round of competition ended, Yi Qing Luo was already exhausted. When the elder took the bottle and Bai Fan pulled it down, Bai Fan's expression changed. Mu Zifan spoke a few simple words and let all the alchemists go back to rest. Yi Qing Luo held her forehead. In order to save time, He had used up a bit too much of his profound heart jade's energy. She shook her head and walked out of her seat. On the opposite side, Bai Ming-che had coincidentally walked out and saw Yi Qing Luo's exhausted face. "Miss, are you all right? You don't look well." Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, rejecting his concern. He then left the alchemy square. She passed by the 4 alchemists who were surrounding her and Bai Ming-che. Yi Qing Luo's eyes turned cold. Her body suddenly went limp, and she bumped into one of the alchemists. That alchemist immediately scolded angrily and was just about to stretch out his hand to push her away, but Yi Qing Luo grabbed his wrist. Yi Qing Luo weakly propped up her body and weakly hooked up a trace of an apologetic smile. "Sorry, refining the pill exhausted the power of the heart fire. My body is somewhat unstable." Chapter 979. After walking out of the public square, Yi Qing Luo's peripheral vision caught a glimpse of those alchemists who were still cursing and swearing as her eyes turned cold. She chuckled and retracted her gaze. Following that, she turned around and walked towards the direction of the inn. She had just turned around when she bumped into a familiar broad embrace. The familiar sandalwood scent seeped into her nostrils. Yi Qing Luo's eyes curved as she raised her hand to encircle his neck and tiptoed as she kissed him on the lips. "Where did you go?" "Checking on some matters." DMO, Xian gently pinched her cheek. Seeing that he wasn't willing to say more, Yi Qing Luo didn't ask any further. DMO Xian had accompanied her to the Alchemist Guild. He must have pushed away many things from the Imperial Palace. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as guilt started to spread from the bottom of her heart. "Ah, Xian, thank you." Staring at the sudden flash of disappointment and apology in Yi Qing Luo's eyes, DMO Xian's thin lips rose slightly as he pinched her chin. "How are you going to thank me?" His voice was deep and mellow like fine wine, and it was filled with hints of seductive charm. Yi Qing Luo only felt that she couldn't hold it in any longer. This tormenting evildoer, flirting at the slightest disagreement. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes as she stared at this face in a daze. Even with half a mask, it was still unable to conceal his peerless looks. Following that, she tiptoed again as she offered her pink lips without any scruples. The surroundings were bustling with people. Yi Qing Luo didn't care about other people's gazes. DMO Xian's gloomy, deep eyes were filled with a tender smile. He was about to tighten his grip on her and deepen the kiss. But unexpectedly, the young lady in his arms suddenly went limp as she fell into his arms. "Lil Luo." DMO Xian's expression turned flustered as he supported her with one arm as he sized up her condition. The young lady's eyes were shut as her eyelashes appeared long and thick. Her tender red lips were stained with strands of silver, giving off an alluring luster. Smooth and gentle breathing, gently inhaling and exhaling. She had only fallen asleep. This awareness made DMO Xian heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt helpless. How could there be a woman who was kissing a man and was about to ignite a raging fire, and then she actually fell asleep? Was his charm not as good as before? "Lad, just let little girl Luo rest for a while. She has just refined a top-grade level 5 pill and has used up too much of her heart fire's power, causing her body to be overloaded. That's why she's in self-recovery mode." Old Man Song transmitted his voice into DMO Xian's mind. DMO Xian frowned slightly as he stared at the young lady sleeping soundly in his arms. Why did she like to put on a brave front so much? He stretched out his arm and directly carried Yi Qing Luo's waist as he left towards the direction of the inn. Behind them, a youth wearing an azure alchemist's robe stared at their departing figures in a daze. A trace of doubt flashed across her clear eyes. So, she could also have such a gentle side. Yi Qing Luo slept all the way till the next morning. DMO Xian was still not in the room. He must have left to handle some matters. Yi Qing Luo got up and slightly revolved the power of her profound jade heart. He could control it freely. The feeling of overexertion from yesterday was also gone. Just as she left the inn, she saw Mu Fei waiting for her on the first floor. Seeing her coming down, he greeted her with a grin. "Qing Luo, have you rested well? Do you have confidence in today's third round?" No problem." Qing Luo nodded. The two of them left the inn together and headed towards the pill refining square. Chapter 980. Alliance Leader? The Alchemist Union's union master personally inspecting? He was so busy that he could compete with DMO Xian. The dragon's head was nowhere to be seen. He actually personally came to the Alchemy Union to check the results of the competition. "You also secretly reveal a little to me, yesterday's medicinal pill. Was it successfully refined?" Mu Fei leaned close to Qing Luo and asked in a low voice. Qing Luo nodded. "Yes, but time was a little rushed, so I didn't manage to refine the high-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill. Only the middle grade. Middle rank." Mu Fei was thoroughly stupefied. Yesterday, when he and his brother were still discussing, he thought that Qing Luo wanted to refine a low-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill. He hadn't expected that she actually wanted to refine a high-grade 5th-level pill. This was way too confident. If there are other alchemists who are able to refine higher-quality medicinal pills, I'm afraid it won't be easy to win. Qing Luo shook her head helplessly. "We can only watch the third round." But Mu Fei didn't think so. To be able to refine a level 5 elixir in just 2 hours was already a heaven-defying matter. Furthermore, it was a middle-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill. Among this batch of alchemists, he hadn't discovered any alchemist whose innate talent or refining ability surpassed Qing Luo. No, wait. Mu Fei suddenly recalled that his elder brother mentioned an alchemist yesterday. He was extremely satisfied with the pill that the alchemist refined in the second round. To Qing Luo, would there be any threat? Mu Fei was just about to tell Qing Luo, but after careful consideration, he still kept his mouth shut. The main reason why Qing Luo took part in the competition was because of the light spirit immortal grass. If he made her feel pressured now, it would affect her performance in the third round. The third round was similar to the second round. The difference was the second round was to refine pills. The third round was to concoct poison. Compared to refining pills, poison was much more troublesome. This was because the ingredients for poisons were mostly all kinds of medicinal herbs and herbs that contain toxins. If they were not careful, it was very likely that the alchemist would be poisoned. Furthermore, if any accidents were to happen during the refining process, he would definitely be able to deal with them. The poison of this poison would follow the power of the heart fire and directly spread into the profound jade heart of the alchemist. In the end, it spread to his limbs and bones. This was also the reason why countless alchemists chose to become orthodox alchemists. As for people like Yi Fengru, they weren't orthodox alchemists. They were dark alchemists who specialized in concocting poisons. The books that the ghost doctor had taught her and shown her were basically all medicinal herbs and techniques used by orthodox medicine refiners. He had never taught her how to refine poison pills. Here, Qing Luo wanted to once again deeply thank the existence of the 100 refinement pill. She had already memorized all the herbs and medicine list in the 100 pill refining manual. She was also fearless in the third round. He entered the plaza and found his seat. Qing Luo sat on the wooden chair, waiting for the third round of the competition to begin. Not long after, there was a commotion in the square. For women, along with a group of guards, were trying to force their way over to them. The guards of the Alchemy Guild couldn't even stop them. Those 4 ladies speedily rushed into the public square and directly walked in front of Qing Luo, pointing at her with a face filled with rage. Each and every one of them opened their mouths and gesticulated angrily. However, not a single one of them could make sound. This farce caused the elders on the platform to feel displeased. Chapter 981. From among the guards, a lady who was dressed like a wet nurse popped out. She stood in the middle of the 4 ladies as she wailed mournfully. "Our young miss took part in your Alchemist Guild's alchemist competition because she worships the Alchemist Guild and wanted to join you. But now she's being poisoned in your place. Wu Tao's brows creased as he berated her sternly. Who is your young miss? How did she get poisoned? If you can't give me an explanation, this elder will chase you out of Alchemy City right now. That lady suddenly knelt down on the ground as she pointed at the 4 ladies behind her while wailing, "This is my young miss, and the other 3 are my young miss's friends." 4 young misses were taking part in the alchemist competition at the Pill Refining Plaza yesterday, but suffered this vicious little slut's evil scheme. For young misses, can't make any sound. Listening to the ladies' cries, Wu Tao's face was filled with suspicion as he looked at those 4 ladies as his brows creased tightly. Those 4 ladies were the alchemists who gossiped and smashed Yi Qing Luo's seat yesterday. At this moment, all of them were gesticulating as their mouths kept moving, but no sound could be heard at all. What evidence do you have to prove that I did it? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile. I've just arrived and purely wanted to take part in the alchemist competition. I have no enmity with the 4 young misses, so why would I lay my hands on them? Her brows rose as her gaze looked straight at those 4 furious ladies. Could it be that the 4 young misses have done something to me which would make me lay my hands on you? When she said that, those 4 ladies were stunned. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. Yesterday, after taking part in the 2nd round of written examinations, my heart flame's energy was exhausted, so I left the plaza and returned to the inn to rest. This point, 2nd young master Mu can testify. Mu Zifei, who was named, immediately nodded his head. Right. Yesterday, after leaving the plaza, she fainted, and I believe there are quite a number of alchemists present, as well as commoners who saw it. After that, she had been resting in the inn until now. This point I can testify. The 4 ladies' faces instantly turned steely green as they looked at each other in dismay, as though they had eaten a pile of *tea. Wu Tao immediately frowned and furiously called out to the guards, "Chase these troublemakers away. They don't know right from wrong and wrongly accuse others." Yesterday, they even gathered a crowd to bully foreign alchemists, break the positions of other alchemists, and disrupt the Alchemist Guild's official business. This elder will also represent the Alchemy Union to personally ask all of you ladies how you handed this junior over to you. The 4 women were frightened. They trembled as they stood to the side, not daring to point fingers. The woman's cries stopped abruptly. The Alchemy Union was the most powerful force in Alchemy City. Seeing that Wu Tao was furious, the guards brought by the 4 women did not dare to act rashly. However, the few of them were forcefully restrained. These 4 women are so young, but their hearts are so vicious. They don't distinguish right from wrong, and they even attempt to murder others. The Alchemy Union doesn't dare to accept such people. Wu Yu's eyes narrowed as she coldly swept her gaze over those people. These 4 women will be stripped of their alchemy qualifications and will never be recruited again. With a stern shout, those few people were brought away. When Wu Tao faced Yi Qing Luo, he restrained some of his anger. This matter is the problem of the Alchemy Union's order being lax. I hope Miss Yi is magnanimous enough to forgive us. Chapter 982. Yes, this is the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild. If the alchemist is outstanding in the assessment, he will be accepted as a closed-door disciple by the Alchemist Guild's elder. Wu Tao nodded his head as he stared at her with glowing eyes and asked tentatively, "May I know which elder Miss Yi is in love with?" Mu Zifan. Yi Qing Luo spat out these 3 words through gritted teeth. Wu Tao was stunned. "You want to be apprenticed to the young chief? I want to strangle him to death." Yi Qing Luo grinded her teeth with a fake smile as she coldly swept a glance at the Mu brothers on the high platform. Wu Tao. This was the first time someone wanted to strangle their young chief. Yi Qing Luo's heart was filled with the feeling of King Dog. She was cheated by the Mu brothers. Initially, he thought that it was just a simple competition. She didn't expect it to be the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild. The Mu brothers were determined to pull her into the Alchemist Guild. But even if she knew that this was the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild, She was afraid that she would still resolutely participate in this competition. This was the only way to get the light spirit immortal herb. The third round, the competition to refine the poison pill, kicked off. Yiqing Luo was still the same as the second round. After entering the medicinal storehouse, she casually glanced around and quickly found the medicinal herbs that she needed. Returning to her position, Yiqing Luo started to refine the poison pill. But she didn't know that there were two pairs of eyes on the high platform, staring at her without blinking. This is the alchemist that you think has an extremely high innate talent? Behind Mu Zifan was a middle-aged man dressed in a white robe. Mu Zifan didn't turn back as he smiled and nodded. Yes. Mu Zifei also widened his eyes, looking at Yiqing Luo's actions, puzzled and puzzled. The medicinal herbs she chose are all ordinary poisonous herbs, and there's also a small amount of poisonous raw materials. That's all. How can these medicinal herbs refine the winning poison pill? Mu Zifan and that middle-aged man smiled, but didn't say a word. Indeed, the medicinal herbs that Yiqing Luo chose were just ordinary poisonous herbs and poisonous raw materials. But once these poisonous herbs and raw materials were combined together, the toxicity would be stronger than countless other poison pills. Her technique is also very thought-provoking. The middle-aged man looked at Yiqing Luo thoughtfully. If you want to make use of poisonous herbs and poisonous raw materials to fuse them together to become a highly toxic poisonous pill, then you must control the amount of each poisonous herb and raw material, not one bit more or less. Mu Zifan nodded. Looking at the entire alchemy union, I'm afraid that even I wouldn't be able to confidently say that I would be able to mix an appropriate amount. She is indeed an extremely talented apothecary, but looking at her refining technique, it reminds me of someone who could make the current alchemy union head think of how to be a master. The Alliance Master's lips twitched slightly. A dark and gloomy glint flashed across his eyes as he slowly spat out two words, Ghost Doctor. The third match ended. After Yiqing Luo handed over the medicine bottle, she waited patiently for the results to come out. Because the third round was about refining poison pills, the medicinal herbs prepared in the medicine storehouse were not very toxic. Yiqing Luo took a risk out of desperation and used the most ordinary poisonous herbs and raw materials to combine them together. As long as the amount and flame was controlled well, she would be able to refine a type of extremely toxic pill. This prescription was learnt from the 100 Medicines pill refining. Yiqing Luo was very confident about the third round's poison pill. All the alchemists waited at the same spot for a full 1 hour. Chapter 983. The winner of this round's selection was personally chosen by the chief. When Yiqing Luo's examination paper and the second and third round's medicinal pills were placed in front of everyone, Yiqing Luo's suspenseful heart finally calmed down. She had won the first place in this round's alchemist competition. Because of Yiqing Luo's relationship with the Mu brothers, the Alchemist Guild had specially announced Yiqing Luo's participation in the 3 rounds of the competition. The first round of written examinations. The examination paper, full marks, no mistakes at all. The second round of alchemy competition. Middle grade ice, soul, spirit, ginseng pill. High quality, the most outstanding medicinal pill among the many alchemists. The third round of refining poisonous pills. Top grade twin poisons, high quality, and was the most outstanding one among all the poisonous pills. The crowd's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as though they were looking at a monster. This was simply too abnormal. Just a short 2 hours, and she was able to refine such a good medicinal pill. They must have opened their eyes in the wrong way. It was absolutely the wrong way of looking at the results. Miss Yi, congratulations on becoming the second 24th round's Alchemist Competition champion. These prizes are all yours. The chief stood on the stage as he gazed at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo remained calm as she replied emotionlessly, "Thank you, Chief, for your appreciation." Saying that, she didn't have any shyness as she walked up and received those prizes from the chief's hands. From the start to the end, Her expression had not changed at all. Chief narrowed his eyes in interest as he laughed softly. I wonder which elder miss he has your heart set on. You can directly acknowledge him as your master. Yi Qing Luo frowned as she lowered her head to look at the prizes in her hands and placed it back on the table. She only took out the light spirit immortal grass. It's my honor to join the Alchemist Guild, but I currently have no intention to acknowledge anyone as my master. As for the other prizes, just treat it as me presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers to all the elders. Chief looked thoughtfully at the light spirit immortal grass in Yi Qing Luo's hands. Strange. That person had really guessed correctly. By adding the light spirit immortal grass into the prizes, the genius alchemist that Mu Zifan wanted would definitely come looking for him. How did that person guess that someone would need the light spirit immortal grass? What motive did that person have? Seeing the silence, numerous people were silently scolding Yi Qing Luo for not knowing what's good for her. Mu Zifan stood up and smiled warmly. Master, Qing Luo's companion has been poisoned by the purple poppy grass and urgently needs the elixir herb to detoxify the poison. Moreover, Qing Luo is still a student. Since the competition is over, I'll send her back to the academy first. As for the rest, we'll talk about it during the next vacation. What do you think, Master? Mu Zifan knew how Yi Qing Luo felt about this matter. After obtaining the spiritual immortal herb, she couldn't wait to return to Yin Xiaoyi's side and help her refine the antidote. At this moment, he definitely didn't have the mood to stay and celebrate. He extended the invitation to Yi Qing Luo was indeed to pull her into the Alchemist Guild banner. He had lied to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo wanted to leave the Alchemist Guild immediately, so he helped her settle it immediately. The Alliance Master's gaze was still profound. He rubbed his chin and smiled faintly. The matter of the antidote cannot be delayed. Come back as soon as possible. Yes. Mu Zifan respectfully bowed towards the chief and immediately looked towards Yi Qing Luo. His clear eyes were filled with some apologies. After a long while, he said, I'm sorry. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to blame him. Mu Zifan wanted to rope her in and invite her to join the Alchemist Guild. She was very clear about this. After Xiao Yi recovers, I'll report to the Alchemist Guild during the next vacation. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Since this was the Alchemist Guild's rule, she had to abide by it. Chapter 984. Yi Qing Luo's words made Mu Zifan feel even more guilty. Qing Luo, if you're not willing, I can explain the situation to Master. He admitted that right from the start, his motive was to pull Yi Qing Luo into the Alchemist Guild. But when Yi Qing Luo was willing to join the Alchemist Guild, Mu Zifan was flustered. He knew that Yi Qing Luo was willing to join the Alchemist Guild because she didn't want to see him being put on the spot. It was just like how she would rather make a move in secret and poison those 4 female alchemists. But on the surface, she would swallow her anger and not argue with those alchemists. It was also for his own good. Even though she was deceived by him, she still treated him as a friend. I joined the Alchemy Union because I want to abide by the Union's rules. You don't need to feel burdened. Yi Qing Luo saw his remorseful look and shot him a comforting smile. Even if you didn't invite me to take part in the competition, but if I can get the spiritual immortal grass, I will still come. Mu Zifan pursed his thin lips and gazed at Yi Qing Luo's face. Her face was reflected in his deep, dark eyes. After a long time, Mu Zifan lowered his eyelids. I have my reasons for doing this. After this matter is over, I will tell you my reasons. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a smile. All right. After getting the spirit immortal grass, Yi Qing Luo didn't want to stay any longer. When she returned to the inn, Dmo Xian was already waiting for her. He totally believed that Yi Qing Luo would be able to bring back the spirit immortal grass. The 4 of them left the inn, abandoned the horse carriage, and rushed back to the Heavenly Academy overnight. When they arrived at the Heavenly Academy, it was already the next morning. When Yi Qing Luo returned to the academy, she took the Ganoderma grass and headed toward the library pavilion's 2nd story, passing the spirit immortal grass to Ghost Doctor. The ghost doctor stared at the spiritual immortal grass for a long time. His sinister eyes narrowed slightly. You got it from the Alchemy Guild? Yi Ching Luo nodded. Yes. Is there any problem? No problem. The ghost doctor casually placed the spiritual immortal grass on the messy table at the side. Come and get the antidote tonight. Hearing ghost doctor say that, Yi Ching Luo heaved a sigh of relief. After relaxing, his whole body felt exhausted. After bidding farewell to ghost doctor, Yi Ching Luo returned to the devil class, preparing to head to the spiritual chi grounds to rest for a few hours. Arriving at the training grounds, 10 over youngsters were sitting on the ground. When they saw Yi Ching Luo, they didn't welcome her with the joy they had imagined, to ask her about the results of the competition. All of them were frowning and stuttering, as if they wanted to say something but didn't dare to. Yi Ching Luo hooked her finger at Enai Ruo Pan. What happened? Enai Rupin moved her body forward and said with a worried expression, On the day you left the academy, the dean sent a notice to all the students, saying that the interclass competition would be brought forward. Bringing forward the interclass competition? Yi Ching Luo was stunned and frowned at Enai Ruo Pan. Why? The news of devil class participating in the interclass competition has reached the dean. Enai Rupin clenched her fists tightly. Her face was filled with anger. The same goes for Shangwan Liuli's bet. It seems like the Shangwan clan has joined hands with some other big clans and requested for the interclass competition to be held in advance. Just for this reason? Yi Ching Luo's slender brows rose slightly, but she felt that things weren't that simple. President, was it because of the other large clans that the interclass competition was brought forward? If her guess wasn't wrong, this year's interclass competition should be prepared for the King of Darkness. Chapter 985. What assessment segment? Yi Ching Luo's slender brows creased as she sensed something amiss. Enai Ruo Pan puffed her cheeks angrily. Director announced that the interclass competition will be held in the middle of next month, and those who wish to take part must first pass the Heavenly Pagoda's ability assessment. This test is obviously targeted at our devil class. Principal, this test is to force our devil class to back off. Still saying it's for the sake of devil class's students. This assessment, as long as 10 students are able to come out from the Heavenly Pagoda, then it will be considered as passing the assessment. The students vented the anger in their hearts with righteous indignation. More importantly, Long Yunjian remained silent for a long time before opening his mouth faintly. 1 month later, to participate in the interclass competition to devil class, it's a little too rushed. Yi Ching Luo's gaze swept around, and those in front of her lowered their heads because of this sentence. If there was another 6 to 7 months' time, they might have the confidence to improve themselves and go against the other classes. But time was tight, and there was only 1 month left. Their ability was indeed much stronger than many students in the intermediate and high-profound classes. But if they really had to compete, it would still be a little difficult. After all, there was a reason why the high-profound class was called high-profound class. Daily small scuffles. To let the high-profound class suffer a little was not a problem. The competition was completely different from completing missions, killing people, and so on. They were not of the same nature. If they really had to compete, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. And the most important reason was, it was the bet that Yi Ching Luo and Shangwan Lu Li had set. It wasn't winning Shangwan Lu Li, winning the high-profound class. It would be considered as winning the bet. But winning the championship, what was set, was a blood oath bet, so it had to be fulfilled. Next month was the competition, and they had to take part in the interclass competition's ability assessment. There was no time for them to prepare at all. The other classes, each class had about 300 over people, whereas Devil class, the entire class only had 60 people, including Kitty Lee. In terms of numbers, they were already at a disadvantage. Do you have the confidence to pass the assessment? Yi Ching Luo heard that, but didn't reveal any excess emotions. The youths in Devil class were all stunned. Those youths who lowered their heads in guilt and had no confidence all raised their heads, yes. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her voice was no longer as gentle as usual. You don't even have enough confidence in the ability assessment. What interclass competition is there to talk about? The youngsters trembled as they looked at Yiqing Luo's imposing gaze as they clenched their fists tightly. When he spoke again, his voice was extremely loud and clear. I have confidence. If you can't even pass the mysterious pagoda's strength test, then how can you participate in the interclass competition? What qualifications do you have to talk about winning? If you're confident, then why are you worried? Yiqing Luo's charming eyes swept past everyone in front of her. The powerful aura caused everyone's hearts to tremble. The youth's slightly childish faces gradually overflowed with radiance. Their burning gazes were fixated on Yiqing Luo's direction. Seeing the glint in their eyes, Yiqing Luo then revealed a smile, but her voice and tone was still dignified. If you have the confidence to pass the ability assessment, then you have enough ability to take part in the competition. The youths replied in unison, yes, we are confident. We could take first place. Chapter 986. You must have rushed back through the night. Long Yunjian saw the fatigue in Yiqing Luo's eyes. Go and rest first. I'll train them. Ever since they returned from King Ling's tomb, the distance between Long Yunjian and them seemed to have a barrier. The brothers didn't blame him, but he couldn't get over that barrier. He had isolated himself from the world outside of them. This barrier could only be walked out by Long Yunjian himself. Yiqing Luo sighed softly as her slender fingers pressed on her brows. All right, I'll leave this place to you. I'll go take a rest first. When she passed by Long Yunjian, she raised her hand and patted his shoulder lightly. A light voice, like a mosquito's mumble, floated into his ears. Long Yunjian shuddered. His azure blue eyes congealed deeply towards Yiqing Luo. But he saw Yiqing Luo already walking towards the direction of the classroom, waving her hand without turning back. She said, I understand you, but please don't give up on everyone. This sentence had left an indelible mark in his heart. She actually understood him so well, knew that even if he stayed, his heart was filled with guilt towards these students, towards Yen Xiao Yi. He stayed because he didn't want to see his brothers constantly worrying about him, and not being able to do anything else. So he swallowed all the guilt by himself, trying his best to display the past look in front of his brothers. That's right, even if he gave up on himself. But he couldn't give up on everyone. We look back, Long Yunjian's gaze had already added some calmness. He had no emotions on his face. As his gaze congealed on the youngsters in front of him, his voice sonorous and forceful. Don't forget what Qing Luo once said. Whether we are trash or not is not up to others to decide, but up to ourselves. We don't want to be treated as trash by others, then. This time is our battle to rise up. Not only do we need to fight for ourselves, we also need to fight for Qing Luo. For ourselves, for Qing Luo. Our training must be even harder. Every single word was like a bell, striking into one's heart. The strong, imposing manner, as well as his own prestige, incited the youngster's battle intent. What we need to do is to win the championship. Not try our best, not possibly. I will not accept any result other than winning the championship. The youths in Devil class stared at their own class monitor. The class monitor, who had never spoken such a long sentence before, had never spoken such a long sentence. The radiance in his eyes grew brighter. All of them nodded their heads vigorously. Yes, we will definitely be the champion. We will definitely be the champion. What they persisted in was not just to change the impression they gave others, and to fight for Yiqing Luo. He absolutely could not allow Yiqing Luo to have her profound heart jade crippled and her meridians crippled. Yiqing Luo rested for about 6 hours in the Spirit Chi Treasure Land. His fatigue was swept away. She stretched her body and left the treasure trove of spiritual energy. As soon as he left, he heard the sounds of the youths training in Training Cheng's area. There was a smile in her eyes, but she didn't go over to disturb them. Looking at the time, it was almost evening. After not eating for a day, he left the devil class and prepared to get something to eat. Just as he walked out of the devil class's courtyard, he saw Lu Xiaoyu walking towards him. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu called out happily. She didn't expect to see her just when she was about to look for Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's long arm hooked over her shoulder. Let's go, I'll treat you to a meal at the canteen. Chapter 987. The Cafeteria. Looking at the delicacies being served, Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up as she swallowed her saliva. Yi Qing Luo smiled helplessly. Sometimes, she envied Lu Xiaoyu's attitude towards people. Just getting the last piece of delicious food would make her happy for a long time. A contented person is always happy. If everyone was like you, everyone would be able to live an easy life. Thinking of this, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Lu Xiaoyu was busy eating, and when she heard Yi Qing Luo's words, she raised her head and giggled. Suddenly, he recalled his motive for coming to look for Yi Qing Luo. She put down the delicacies in her hands and leaned towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Right. Do you know about the matter of the interclass competition being brought forward? Yes. Yi Qing Luo had also guessed the reason why Lu Xiaoyu was looking for her. As expected, Lu Xiaoyu asked, "Don't you find it strange that the interclass competition was brought forward? What's strange about it?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she looked at her. Lu Xiaoyu frowned and muttered, "Although I don't know what's strange, why did the dean suddenly hold a competition 5 months in advance? And they even want to do a class test." She paused and said mysteriously, "I've asked my old classmates who have been studying in the academy. In all these years, such a thing has never happened." Speaking up to this point, Lu Xiaoyu looked around and immediately lowered her voice. "The dean must have a reason for doing this, right? What do you think it is?" Yi Qing Luo remained silent. There were some things that she couldn't say for the time being. If she said it now, it would ruin things instead. Towards director's action, although Yi Qing Luo wasn't able to guess the reason behind it. However, he was certain that it was closely related to the King of Darkness. There should be an even greater secret hidden within. Thinking in this way, Yi Qing Luo was happy to see it happen. She did not know how the mysterious yin qi in her body had entered her body. If it happened again, she really didn't know if she could control herself. One could tell just by looking at Long Yunjian. If she did something that she would regret for the rest of her life, she would never be able to forgive herself. If the interclass competition was really brought forward because of the dark forces, perhaps she could take this opportunity to get some clues. I think it's good this way too, to let everyone gain some experience. Yi Qing Luo elegantly raised her teacup and sipped a mouthful of tea as she gave a faint smile. After all, this is the Academy's large-scale competition. After the test, we will then be allowed to take part in the competition, which will reduce the number of casualties. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. She still felt that there was something wrong. A woman's intuition had always been very accurate. It was better to be more careful. Yi Qing Luo only gave a slight smile and didn't explain her thoughts. The reason why they joined the competition was to let the students of Devil class get rid of the title of trash, so that they would not have to hide anymore. To the Devil class, this was a very good opportunity. They could make use of this opportunity to openly tell the others that they were not trash. Qing Luo, do you still insist on taking part in this competition? Lu Xiaoyu asked worriedly. Lu Xiaoyu's worries weren't groundless. After all, there were numerous pairs of eyes staring at Yi Qing Luo, waiting to see her make a fool of herself. Yi and Luo, Yi Qi, Xiaoyu said. Chapter 988. This battle was not only for Devil class, but also for Shangwan Lu Li's actions. She wanted to get back at them for what they had done. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as a chilly glint flashed past her eyes. A kind horse would be ridden by others, and a kind person would be bullied. Yi Qing Luo wasn't willing to be bullied. It was time to settle Shangwan Lu Li's debts, and she would not be soft-hearted. The tea in her hands had already turned cold. Yiqing Luo swept a glance and casually placed it aside. Now Yiqing Luo didn't have any appetite because she felt that after this interclass competition, there might be a chance to come into contact with a lord from the dark forces. How to grasp the propriety and whether it would implicate some people. That was something that was still unknown. Qing Luo, then do you have confidence in this assessment? Lu Xiaoyu saw that she had already made up her mind and could only dispel the thought of dissuading her. Yiqing Luo understood Lu Xiaoyu's worries. In the eyes of outsiders, this assessment's regulations were indeed too harsh for Devil class. According to the assessment's regulations, every class must have at least 10 students who pass the assessment. But based on Devil class's situation, whether they could gather 10 students to pass the assessment was still a problem. At least from Lu Xiaoyu's perspective, 10 students who passed the assessment was an astronomical figure to Devil class. If the number of students was not enough, then what should Yiqing Luo do? Wouldn't Devil class be ridiculed by the entire academy's students again? Yiqing Luo had yet to reply when Shangguan Luli happened to pass by. Shangguan Luli apparently heard Lu Xiaoyu's words as she instantly stopped in her tracks. She swept a disdainful glance at Yiqing Luo and immediately ridiculed. Humph, you still want to stand out in that kind of waste class? Devil classes waste have no chance of passing the assessment. But you might have a chance, but what can you do alone? Shangguan Luli, what did you eat today? Your mouth is so smelly. Lu Xiaoyu stood up suddenly as she retorted angrily. Shangguan Luli stared at her and continued, I'm telling the truth. Ask Yiqing Luo, other than her, who else can pass the assessment? Lu Xiaoyu instantly wilted as she braced herself to continue staring at Shangguan Luli, but she couldn't say a single word. What Shangguan Lili said was right. The Devil class was indeed worrying. If Yiqing Luo was in any other class, then without a doubt, she would easily stand out from the rest. But Devil class's side was stuck by one rule. Yiqing Luo, I advise you to dispel this thought. If you kneel down and beg me now, then I can still consider canceling our bet. The minute Shangguan Liuli saw Lu Xiaoyu wilting, she immediately spoke out arrogantly to Yiqing Luo. What bet? What kind of bet do you have? Lu Xiaoyu heard something wrong in his words and frowned in confusion. Shangguan Liuli's face was filled with a cold smile as she arrogantly raised her head. Student Yi took the initiative to make a bet with me. If Devil class is unable to obtain first place in the interclass competition, she will cripple her profound heart jade and cripple the tendons and meridians in her limbs. Lu Xiaoyu slammed the table and stood up. Her pretty face was full of anger. She rushed to Shangguan Liuli and grabbed her collar fiercely. Shangguan Liuli, what nonsense are you spouting? This is a bet which she personally set. What has it got to do with me? Shangguan Liuli patted the hand in front of her chest as a faintly discernible black chi flashed past her eyes. Let go. Chapter 989. As for yourself, Shangguan Liuli looked down at her collar, which was being clenched tightly. The darkness in her eyes grew thicker. She even made a blood oath with me. This kind of bet. If she is not willing, how can I force her? Lu Xiaoyu's face suddenly turned pale. Blood oath. Xiaoyu, let her go. Yiqing Luo glanced at the profound Yin-Chi in Shangguan Liuli's eyes and stretched out her hand to pull Lu Xiaoyu away. Lu Xiaoyu saw that Yiqing Luo did not refute. Obviously, this matter was true. She clenched her fists and was pulled back a few steps by Yiqing Luo, biting her lower lip tightly. Blood oath cannot be cancelled, which meant that if Yiqing Luo was unable to win, her meridians would be broken and her profound jade heart destroyed. Facing Shangguan Liuli's complacent expression, Yiqing Luo totally ignored it. She directly pulled Lu Xiaoyu back to her seat. Little foodie, don't you love the cafeteria's roast duck? Eat more. After saying that, she picked up the cold tea on the table and took a sip. Her brows were calm and composed, as if she had not heard Shangguan Liuli's words. Yiqing Luo, you can't be arrogant for long. I'm waiting for you to break your meridians and cripple your profound energy. Shangguan Liuli's face turned green as she said fiercely. Yiqing Luo put down a teacup and pretended to be surprised as she turned her head to ask Lu Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, do you smell something? Why is it so smelly? Lu Xiaoyu was also stunned for a moment before she regained her senses and looked at Shangguan Liuli with a smile. Probably someone's mouth is too smelly. Yiqing Luo, Lu Xiaoyu. Just you wait. Shangguan Liuli was fuming with anger. If it wasn't for the fact that fighting was prohibited in the academy, she would have hit them directly. Just at this moment, Shangguan Fangyi walked over from afar and pulled Shangguan Liuli's arm. Third brother. Shangguan Liuli was filled with anger as she shouted angrily at Shangguan Fangyi. These two are bullying me. Shangguan Fangyi took a look at Yiqing Luo, pulled Shangguan Liuli's arm and leaned to his side, and said in a deep voice, Student Yi, I have something to ask you. No comment, he answered without hesitation, not giving any face to Guan Fangyi. Yiqing Luo you. Shangguan Liuli was instantly infuriated as the black qi in her eyes started to thicken. Shangguan Fangyi grabbed her in time and pressed down on her shoulders. Fifth sister, don't mess around for now. I have questions to ask her. Seeing the serious expression on Shangguan Fangyi's face, Shangguan Liuli pouted and shook off his hand. She kicked the chair beside her and stood there sulking. Shangguan Fangyi had no time to care about his sister's feelings. His vision was fixated on Yiqing Luo without blinking as he lowered his voice. The god relic which you obtained in King Ling's tomb, has it formed a blood pact with you? Yiqing Luo raised her eyelids and swept a glance at Shangguan Fangyi as her lips curled up in ridicule. Why? Without the blood pact, you're preparing to snatch it. These words also made it clear that the divine artifact was with her. He didn't hide it anywhere else or hand it over to the overlord for safekeeping. It was on her body. Since she dared to directly expose it, Yiqing Luo had no intention of being afraid. After the battle in King Ling's tomb, Shangguan Fangyi definitely wouldn't dare to easily make a move on her. Unless he didn't want to live anymore. No, you've misunderstood. Shangguan Fangyi's brows creased. He despised the act of fawning on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 990. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. What if we form a blood pact? Then, on behalf of the Shangguan family, I sincerely invite you to become the elder of the Shangguan family. Yiqing Luo almost spat out a mouthful of tea. Elder? Did she look old? The elder of the Shangguan family can enjoy all the rights and interests of the Shangguan family, and can mobilize all the troops of the Shangguan family, and anyone in the Shangguan family other than the patriarch. Shangguan Fangyi deliberately slowed down his tone when he said the last sentence, probing Yiqing Luo's expression. Shangguan Liuli, who was standing behind him, had a change of expression as she cried out in disbelief, Third brother. What are you talking about? Anyone other than father? Didn't that include her? Let Yiqing Luo order her around? Was Shangguan Fangyi crazy? This is father's order. Shut up. Shangguan Fangyi shook off Shangguan Liuli's hand as he lowered his voice and berated her sternly. Shangguan Liuli bit her lips tightly as her eyes were filled with tears, filled with grievance. Shangguan Fangyi had no time to care about her emotions. He turned to Yiqing Luo with a fawning smile on his face. What does student Yi think? Yiqing Luo faintly curled her lips as her charming eyes overflowed with ridicule. The Shangguan family has put in a lot of effort for the power of the divine relic. Shangguan Fangyi smiled even more flatteringly. Yes, this represents the sincerity of the Shangguan family in cooperating with student Yi. Then, my answer is, Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as a trace of ridicule flashed past. Just at this moment, Shangguan Fangyi groaned inexplicably as he almost knelt on the ground. He held his chest as his face turned pale as a sheet as he tottered. Shangguan Liuli was still sulking when she heard Shangguan Fangyi's voice and immediately regained her senses. She saw Shangguan Fangyi clutching his chest in pain, while Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu had already stood up and walked towards another direction. Yiqing Luo, you're despicable. That undetectable murderous intent earlier, although it was just a flash. But Shangguan Liuli clearly felt that it was Yiqing Luo who secretly hurt him. Yiqing Luo. Shangguan Liuli furiously pointed at Yiqing Luo. You dare to make a move on my third brother in public. Yiqing Luo turned her head over and laughed lightly. Which eye of yours saw me making a move? Ask the students around you, did I do anything? The surrounding students shuddered and moved back a little. On one side was Yiqing Luo, who was currently in the limelight and was being spread around like a god. On the other side were the young masters and young mistresses of the Shangguan family. It would be wrong for them to speak up for either side. Speak. Was she the one who did it? Shangguan Liuli's arrogant and spoiled temperament immediately surged in her heart. Apart from her, who else can hurt my third brother? After being forced into a corner, the students stammered in fear. I really didn't see Student Yi make a move. Why did Student Shangguan do this? It might not necessarily be related to Student Yi. They were only telling the truth. With so many pairs of eyes watching, Yiqing Luo indeed had no signs of making a move. If he could injure Shangguan Fangyi without moving, unless he used his profound qi. But the academy was equipped with profound qi scanning devices. If Yiqing Luo were to use her profound qi, she would definitely be discovered by the academy. Could it be Shangguan Fangyi intentionally wanted to frame Yiqing Luo? This thought flashed past the students' minds. One by one, they nodded in agreement. There was a huge possibility of this. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.